Chapter 269. It had only been less than half a month since the source energy weapon was invented, but now it was ready to be used. This was truly incredible efficiency. In these past few days, the great scholar had worked hard to repair the bad impression he had left in Chu Tian's heart, so he helped Chu Tian without any complaints. He did not refuse the small tasks that Chu Tian gave him. His attitude of completing them to perfection could be described as painstaking effort. However, it was because he had been helping Chu Tian these past few days that he was fortunate enough to see the improvement process of the source energy pistol, giving him a large amount of inspiration and shock. The great scholar finally understood today. He had lived his 100 years like a dog. In his 20 years of traveling, he had once knelt outside a large country's door for 3 days and 3 nights in order to become a disciple of a scholar from a large country. In order to get a textbook, he had been ridiculed and humiliated by his classmates. But Gu Qianxiu thought it was all worth it. Those 20 years of traveling had laid a solid foundation for his future. That experience of enduring humiliation had paved the way for Gu Qianxiu's fame and glory. Gu Qianxiu could proudly say for a long time that he was the most knowledgeable person in southern Xia. He was not inferior to famous scholars from large countries, and almost all scholars in southern Xia had received his grace. But now, when he thought of those fellows that flew into the sky, Gu Qianxiu wanted to slap their faces. Chu Tian was arrogant, but he still treated him as a person. When Gu Qianxiu had studied with other scholars, not only did they cherish their knowledge, they were not willing to teach him anything. Instead, they treated him as servants, slaves, and even test subjects. Everyone said that Chu Tian was arrogant, but in Gu Qianxiu's eyes, Chu Tian's arrogance was only on the surface. It was very simple to obtain his respect, as long as one respected him. Whether it was a great scholar like him or a normal employee of miracle commerce, in Chu Tian's eyes, they were all the same. This was much better than those who were much more knowledgeable, but were boundlessly arrogant and saw others as worthless. This was a master alchemist who could change the world. Gu Qianxiu never would have thought that when he was 100 years old, he would regain his hot-bloodedness and strong desire for knowledge. He had already decided to spend the rest of his life in the Yun sect and support Chu Tian to the end. Chu Tian was very satisfied with Gu Qianxiu's performance and adding in the fact that they were working together. Although he had only joined for a few days, Chu Tian had already promoted him. He had already become the highest-ranked researcher in the Yun sect, with a position similar to Yun Tianhe's. Gu Qianxiu was naturally wild with joy. There was nothing more attractive to scholars than using their own knowledge and effort to personally change the world. Although Gu Qianxiu's intelligence was very limited, to be able to use his meager strength to contribute to an era of miracles was enough to leave his name in history and be praised by countless scholars of the future. This was the highest glory. A few tests were completed. Not quite there yet. Chu Tian was not satisfied and gave a few suggestions, but he did not want to wait any longer. Since the cost isn't high, let's make a batch first. The source energy firearms were easy to produce and the source energy batteries were very cheap. The only troublesome part was that the source energy pistols needed to be engraved with over 300 runes. In this era, automatic rune engraving machines had not been invented yet, so they needed to hire large amounts of array masters to complete it, but it was just a small labor cost. Chu Tian asked, "How many pistols can be produced per day?" The weapon factory has not been completed yet, so the efficiency is not high. The source energy pistols are not complicated and can be produced in a normal factory. Although the refining process for the source energy magazines is hard, the demand isn't high, so it shouldn't be a problem. Meng Qingwu said this and then gave a helpless sigh. Only the process of engraving the runes is a bit complicated. This is related to the secrets of the source energy weapons, so we have to be careful in choosing people. The workload is also quite large, so if it's just the people in the research lab, producing 50 pistols per day is already an optimistic estimate. Only 50 a day? If that was the case, it would take forever to equip an entire army. Too slow. Chu Tian knit his brows and said, "Don't worry about it too much. Even if the technology is leaked, we have to increase the speed of production. We have to make 1,000 guns as soon as possible. I don't want the central state city siege to happen again." Technology leaked? What was there to worry about? The source energy pistol was the lowest grade source energy weapon, so Chu Tian did not care about it at all. Not to mention that the rune array was not enough. Without a suitable source energy battery, others could not make the source energy pistol. Although the source energy pistol's design was not perfect, the effect was already very shocking. If it could be equipped with 1,000 people, even if they met Southern Xia's most elite storm cavalry, they would be able to inflict heavy losses in just a few waves of attacks. This was the power of technology. This was the power of source energy weapons. The continent's first source energy weapon army was in Chu Tian's hands, so who would dare bully miracle commerce? Even if it was the three rulers, even if it was the king, they would still have to curry favor with Chu Tian. Meng Qingwu saw Chu Tian's firm attitude, so she could only nod and say, "I'll do my best to increase the speed." Nonsense. For such an important thing, how could you only care about production and not care about keeping it a secret? If it was leaked and caused chaos, would you be able to take responsibility for it? Chu Tian, you really disappoint people. A thunderous and majestic voice resounded in everyone's ears. A strange man wearing a cloak walked in. His two sword-like eyebrows seemed like they were about to reach the sky. If you can't keep your cool, how can you do anything big? When Gu Qianqiu and Yun Tianhe saw this person, their expressions changed. Why did this fellow personally come to Central State? Who the fuck are you? Chu Tian was lectured by someone for no reason, and it was in his own territory. In front of his own people, where would he put his face? He shouted out without even thinking, "When father does things, is it up to you to tell me what to do?" Chu Tian. Shen Fengho was shocked on the side. He quickly stood up and shouted, "You can't be rude to the calm martial ruler." This brat really wasn't afraid of death. Could it be that he didn't know that if the person in front of him wanted to take his life, it would be as easy as taking something out of his pocket? Chu Tian was stunned. What calm martial ruler? The calm martial ruler gave a snort. Suddenly, a pure murderous aura poured down like a landslide, causing one's spirit and soul to tremble. The tens of thousands of horses neighed and the thousands of riders charged forward. Under this unstoppable pressure, even experts like the Divine Wind Marquis and Gu Qianqiu couldn't help taking a step back. Everyone else's faces turned pale as if their throats were being choked, making it hard for them to even breathe. This man did not even make a move, just his aura alone was enough to suppress everyone. If one's will was a bit weaker, they would have had a mental breakdown. So strong. Meng Qingwu felt her back become wet with sweat. She had never seen such a strong person before. He was several times stronger than the Divine Wind Marquis. Was this the terrifying strength of the three ruler realm experts? This is bad. The calm martial ruler first showed his strength as soon as he came in. Thinking about how he had sent the great scholar to deal with Chu Tian, it seemed like he did not have good intentions this time. Shen Fengho revealed a bitter smile. Chu Tian, Chu Tian, you shouldn't have personally invited the calm martial ruler. This is the so-called inviting a god is easy, but sending him away is hard. In front of this kind of overwhelming strength, do you really have the qualifications to negotiate with him? The calm martial ruler did not want to hurt Chu Tian. He just wanted to show Chu Tian how strong he was, allowing the negotiations to proceed smoothly. But what made the calm martial ruler surprised was that even Shen Fengho and the calm martial ruler found it hard to resist his pressure, but Chu Tian was calm, like he was not affected at all. This young man was much younger than he imagined and much more outstanding than he imagined. Forget it. He had already shown his strength. If Chu Tian was a smart person, he would know what to do. The calm martial ruler slowly withdrew his sharp aura and everyone felt their bodies lighten. He took a step forward and asked in a calm and aloof voice, "You must be Chu Tian." In the calm martial ruler's eyes, with his prestige and the strength he had just displayed, no matter how arrogant Chu Tian was, he would not even dare to take a deep breath. After all, to him, the calm martial ruler was an enemy he could not defeat. Moreover, if Chu Tian wanted to establish himself in southern Xia, he needed the calm martial ruler's protection. Like this, the following matters would be easy to discuss. Calm martial ruler. This old man has admired you for so many years. but I never thought that you would be such a despicable person. Who would have thought that before Chu Tian could even say a word, an angry old man would charge out with red eyes, looking like he wanted to die with the calm martial ruler? If you dare touch a single hair on his head, you'll have to step over this old man's corpse first. Yun Tianhe shouted like he was facing a great enemy. Come, protect the chairman. Chen Bingyu and the others immediately charged in. The little fox's hairs stood up and it revealed a hostile gaze. Shen Fengho was stunned. The calm martial ruler was also stunned. What was this? Chu Tian personally wrote a letter to the calm martial ruler. Wasn't it because he wanted to cooperate with the calm martial ruler? What the hell was going on? Great scholar? Wasn't this the great scholar? Why was he this angry, even pointing at the calm martial ruler and scolding him? The calm martial ruler was a bit angry. Great scholar, this ruler has never done anything against his heart. Why must you slander this ruler? Good. The calm martial ruler is a person who doesn't dare admit his actions. What did you say? The calm martial ruler was already a bit angry. Did the great scholar eat the wrong medicine? If it was anyone else, the calm martial ruler would have already killed them with a single palm. Take a look for yourself. The great scholar threw the letter at him. Do you dare say that this letter didn't come from your hand? This is indeed this ruler's personal letter, but then what else is there to say? You deliberately misled this old man, hinting for this old man to kill Chu Tian, trying to make this old man bear the name of killing a virtuous person. Your heart is too evil. This old man disdains being associated with you. The calm martial ruler's nose almost went crooked from his anger. The great scholar was reversing right and wrong. This letter clearly told the great scholar to protect Chu Tian for a while. How did it become hinting for the great scholar to kill Chu Tian? The calm martial ruler pulled out the letter to confront the great scholar. When the letter was pulled out, the calm martial ruler was stunned. The content of this letter was completely different from when it was sent. Although the writing style was the same, the content was completely different. Shen Fengho was also shocked. What medicine was the calm martial ruler selling? The calm martial ruler realized something and immediately explained, "That's not right, this is not this ruler's letter. This letter has been tampered with by someone." Gu Qianqiu angrily stared at him and said, "Now that things have reached this point, you still want to quibble? Who in southern Xia dares to tamper with the calm martial ruler's letter? This ruler personally came to Central State to cooperate. So how could I kill Chu Tian?" The calm martial ruler realized that the situation was bad and immediately clarified, "Everyone knows this ruler's character. I am not someone who doesn't dare admit my actions." Chu Tian gave a laugh and said, "I'm sorry, calm martial ruler. Whether it's true or not, you've come too late." "What do you mean?" "The contents of this letter have made this one feel uneasy, so I had to find another way out. I have already worked with Qing State, Thunder State, and the great scholar to come up with a plan to develop source energy weapons. The calm martial ruler has made a wasted trip." "What?" "It seems like the calm martial ruler's comprehension isn't very good, so this old man will help the chairman translate it." Gu Qianqiu said in a voice filled with schadenfreude. "The chairman's meaning is that this source energy weapon factory has nothing to do with the honorable ruler, so you should quickly return to Imperial City." This Gu Qianqiu was quite bold, but he was probably angry. Because of the calm martial ruler's letter, he almost made an unforgivable mistake. Whether this letter was in the calm martial ruler's hands or not, he could not shirk the responsibility. The calm martial ruler felt like he had been struck by lightning. How could this be? The calm martial ruler had left Imperial City filled with confidence and expectation, especially coming to Central State to negotiate with Chu Tian. Wasn't it because he wanted to use his status and strength to gain an advantage in the negotiations, even wanting to hold Chu Tian in his hands? Who would have thought that this would be the result? He had been kicked out before it even started. Because of the calm martial ruler's attitude, the other Miracle Commerce members were filled with vigilance and hostility. It's over, he had made a fool of himself. What should they do now? Damn. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have tried to show off his strength. What should he do now? With the great scholar here, martial arts would not work. His strength was average, but his mouth made the calm martial ruler feel fear, so he couldn't easily offend this bookworm. Who changed the letter? If this cooperation fails, this ruler will exterminate their 3 clans. Chapter 270. The Calm Martial Ruler. One of the 3 rulers, the Calm Martial Ruler. The rulers of southern Xia did not have a country, and their titles were not based on the land they were given. The ruler title was just a title. Calm Martial, Calm Martial, Calm Martial, Calm Martial to calm the world. Meng Qingwu and Meng Ying never thought that a famous person like the Calm Martial Ruler would actually appear in Miracle Commerce's research facility and argue with the great scholar. These 2 were people with high status in the southern summer country. The great scholar was fine. After all, as scholars, it was normal for them to argue, but what kind of person was the Calm Martial Ruler? He was the head of the Southern Summer 3 rulers and the commander of the country's army. For this kind of person to act like this, it was a bit too low of a price. The Calm Martial Ruler became anxious. Now was not the time to care about face. Even if all of these people were added together, they still can't compare to this ruler. You've captured the Western Marquis this time. Insulting the Shangguan family and capturing the entire southern state army, this is enough to cause a large wave in the kingdom. In the entire southern summer country, only this ruler can help you suppress this matter, so you better think this through. Calm Martial Ruler. The great scholar angrily said, "Are you looking down on this old man?" The great scholar's words are too heavy. This ruler has never said that. The Calm Martial Ruler said this, but his face clearly revealed a look of disdain as he softly said, "But the great scholar is good at research, but this matter cannot be solved with just words. To put it bluntly, you are just a scholar with a false reputation without any real power." Gu Qianxiu's beard almost reached the sky. "Please calm your anger, please calm your anger." Chu Tian came out to be the peacemaker. Although the Calm Martial Ruler's matter is a misunderstanding, it has already happened. A person cannot go back on their word, and we have already reached an agreement, so there is no changing it. I ask for the Calm Martial Ruler's forgiveness. Chu Tian believed that the Calm Martial Ruler did not have any intention of killing him. Otherwise, why would the Calm Martial Ruler personally come to Central State with Shen Fenghe? However, when he saw the Calm Martial Ruler's livid expression, Chu Tian couldn't help feeling secretly satisfied. Everyone knew about the Calm Martial Ruler's iron-bloodedness, but even if you, Dong Fanggan, were arrogant, didn't you still suffer a loss? The great scholar couldn't beat the Calm Martial Ruler and he didn't have any power, but the great scholar's position in southern Xia was not normal. No matter how angry the Calm Martial Ruler was, he did not dare do anything. Gu Qianxiu mobilizing all the scholars in the country to denounce him was not a joke. But you clearly looked for this lord first, and this lord has indeed come. The Calm Martial Ruler gave a snort. As for this letter, this ruler wrote it to protect you, but I don't know who dared to tamper with this ruler's letter. I'll investigate this matter when I return and cut that person into 10,000 pieces. But regarding the matter of cooperation, no one else can do it except for this monarch. The great scholar stared at him and said, "Does the Calm Martial Ruler want to bully others?" I, Gu Qianxiu, do not agree. Can you shut up, you old man? I've already said that this matter was not done by this ruler. Gu Qianxiu was a scholar, and when a scholar's temper came out, he would not recognize others. No matter how good his relationship with the Calm Martial Ruler was, it was useless. The Calm Martial Ruler's patience had already reached its limit. The great scholar and the Calm Martial Ruler were about to lose all face. If this continued, it wouldn't be good if the Calm Martial Ruler made a move. So he stood up and said, "As for the matter of cooperation, we can discuss it later. It's not impossible to have the best of both worlds." Good, very good. The Calm Martial Ruler looked over Chu Tian for a few minutes. "You're younger than I imagined and a bit wilder than I imagined. Of course, you're also better than I imagined. So I believe you won't disappoint this ruler." After saying this, he paused for a bit. He stared at Chu Tian and said, "This kind of weapon needs to be developed. The most important thing is to keep it a secret. If the technology is leaked, the consequences will be unimaginable. Do you understand?" Chu Tian's brows jumped up. This little one invited the Calm Martial Ruler to Central State City to discuss cooperation. Not to have the calm martial ruler teach me a lesson. This brat. Didn't he know how terrifying the calm martial ruler was? The calm martial ruler was filled with anger, but he could not vent it out. If you have the confidence to not cause any negative effects, then that's a different matter. The calm martial ruler could only grit his teeth and accept it. Then he immediately asked, "This ruler will first listen to how you plan on cooperating. I hope you can satisfy this ruler. After all, in southern Xia, without this ruler's help, it will be hard for you to take a single step forward." The calm martial ruler's voice was very calm, but there was a hint of threat in it. The meaning behind his words was, if you don't give this ruler a reasonable proposal, this ruler won't be able to get a share. Then you can forget about doing it. What's the rush? Chu Tian saw the calm martial ruler's attitude, but he did not say anything. The weapon test is not complete yet. We'll continue with the weapon test. What is there to test? Haven't we already tested it? Chu Tian revealed a trace of disdain, but he did not care about the calm martial ruler. He just waved his hand at Meng Ying, "Come here." The calm martial ruler's face turned dark. This was the first time he felt that his reputation was not that useful. This was a person even stronger than Shen Fenghe. If he was angered, it would truly be a disaster. But with Chu Tian supporting her, Meng Ying was not afraid of anything. She immediately ran in front of Chu Tian. "What is it?" Chu Tian took out a box and gave it to her. "Take this weapon and try it out." "There's a new weapon?" Meng Ying opened the crystal box in surprise and took out a more complicated source energy gun. She was shocked. Why does this gun look different? The others all looked over in curiosity. This gun was 3 times bigger than a pistol and its structure was similar to a pistol, only the magazine was separated. Not only did it have a larger capacity, it also had a richer array system. This is a fast-firing gun. Chu Tian walked in front of Meng Ying and took out a special energy magazine. Compared to a pistol, it's twice the size. The magazine is separated and can hold 3 times the energy. A single bullet's power is reduced by 20%, but the firing speed is increased by 2-3 times. The magazine can hold 20 to 30 bullets. Everyone was more shocked the more they heard. Compared to a pistol, this gun's power was reduced, but the magazine was larger and the firing speed was higher. There was no doubt its firepower was stronger, so it was suitable for the battlefield. Although its power was lower than a pistol, it still had a strong killing power. In terms of firing speed and number of bullets, it had a high advantage. The calm martial ruler revealed an excited look. "Then let's give it a try." Meng Ying looked at Chu Tian. Chu Tian nodded. "Go." "Alright." Meng Ying raised the gun and walked in front of the shooting range. She aimed at the target in front of her. "You guys move aside, I'm going to fire." When Meng Ying pulled the trigger, a ray of light extended from the energy magazine and instantly flowed through the entire body of the gun. All the runes and arrays were activated. Pa-pa. A series of dense energy bullets were shot out like rain. The giant rake in front of her was like a piece of paper, instantly being torn to pieces by the terrifying power. It could actually fire continuously. Such a high firing speed, such a concentrated attack. When everyone saw the might of this weapon, they were all shocked by its power. There was no need for many of these weapons. An army of 10,000 only needed 100 of them. Once the enemy got close, they could shoot at them and it would definitely break the enemy's spirit. Although the energy bullets were weakened, it was still enough to pierce through a void soul realm cultivator's protective spirit energy. The firing speed was increased and the attack density was increased. Even if an awakened soul realm cultivator was in front of this gun, they might not be able to dodge it. Meng Ying raised the gun and fired as she excitedly shouted, "This gun is too good to use." When half the magazine was used, "It's done." Chu Tian found that the gun barrel was getting hotter and hotter, showing signs of melting. He immediately shouted, "Stop, stop, stop." Meng Ying could not react. The gun barrel suddenly exploded. Meng Ying was sent flying by a strong force. Meng Qingwu's face fell. "Ying, are you all right?" "It's fine, it's fine. I have the Starlight Immortal body protecting me. This bit of energy can't harm me." Meng Ying quickly stood up. Her clothes were a bit burnt, but she was fine. When she raised the gun, the entire gun seemed to have melted and deformed. The explosion just now was caused by the high temperature melting the runes, causing the energy to go out of control. How could this gun be burnt? The rune array design is not perfect. Too much energy has formed the high temperature. Other than that, the material of this gun is not ideal, so we need to find a cheap and high-temperature resistant material. Although the experiment had failed, this new source energy gun's might was fully displayed. Meng Qingwu asked Chu Tian, "This gun's killing power is much higher than the pistol, shouldn't we give it a name? You guys can come and take it." "I'll do it." Meng Yingying waved the burnt gun in her hand and said, "This gun is only a bit bigger than the pistol, so it's still very light to carry. Moreover, it can fire very fast, so it's very suitable for charging into enemy lines. We'll call it submachine gun." Submachine gun? Alright, we'll call it that. Chu Tian found that Meng Yingying wasn't stupid sometimes, at least this name was very appropriate. "Young miss, please collect the waste and bring it to the research lab to be analyzed. How much energy is left in the magazine and how many bullets have melted? Collect all of this data as soon as possible." Meng Qingwu nodded, "No problem." Chu Tian walked in front of the completely stunned Calm Martial Ruler. "Calm Martial Ruler! Calm Martial Ruler!" Chu Tian called out twice before the Calm Martial Ruler reacted. "What does the Calm Martial Ruler think of this weapon? Give me your evaluation." The Calm Martial Ruler did not know how to describe it. "Good, very good. Since the Calm Martial Ruler is satisfied, then I can be assured." Chu Tian gave a laugh. "Let's discuss the matter of cooperation." Chapter 271. Miracle Commerce did not lack money or people. The Calm Martial Ruler had turned from a life-saving straw to an icing on the cake, so the method of negotiation had to change. The source energy weapon is an invention that can be recorded in history. You being able to create this kind of weapon is enough to leave your name in history, enough to leave your name in the history of the southern summer country. Chu Tian was sitting across from him with Gu Qianxiu, Shen Fengho, and Meng Qingwu standing to his left and right, wholeheartedly tasting the honey tea without saying a word. The Calm Martial Ruler first gave a few words of praise before changing his tone. Because the source energy weapon is too disruptive, it will touch the interests of many large characters, both inside and outside the country. With your strength, you won't be able to protect this technology. The best way is to sell the blueprints to the kingdom and use the kingdom's strength to protect this technology. Shen Fengho and Meng Qingwu were also stunned. The Calm Martial Ruler wanted to take the technology and do it alone. This kind of weapons blueprints could not be bought with money. Would Chu Tian agree? Gu Qianxiu angrily said, "After all this time, you still want to steal Chu Tian's research. Great scholar, don't be angry." Chu Tian gave a laugh. "Actually, if the Calm Martial Ruler wants to buy the blueprints, as long as the price is right, of course it's fine." The Calm Martial Ruler wanted to test Chu Tian's bottom line. This kind of great invention, who wouldn't want to hold it in their hands? In the end, Chu Tian agreed without even thinking about it. When did this fellow ever act according to common sense? But I have to tell the Calm Martial Ruler that our technology is constantly improving. The source energy pistol blueprints we are spending a lot of money to buy right now might be overturned in just a few days. We might be able to develop a better and more powerful pistol, or we might even be able to develop a submachine gun, an even better weapon. You can buy one blueprint, but can you buy 10 or 100? The Calm Martial Ruler tightly knit his brows. Indeed, Miracle Commerce hadn't invented the source energy pistol for long, and the source energy pistols hadn't even been mass-produced yet, but the source energy submachine gun had already appeared. You aren't the only one on the continent that wants to buy the blueprints. Since they are all going to be transferred out, selling one is selling 100 is also selling. As long as we wait for the right price, there will be an endless stream of buyers. Why would Miracle Commerce need to worry about not having enough money? As long as we focus on researching new blueprints, we will be able to become the richest people on the continent. What does the Calm Martial Ruler think about the competitiveness of Southern Xia on the continent? You want to buy it? Sure. I'm afraid you don't have that much money. The calm martial ruler was silent for a few seconds before giving a disappointed sigh. Then, what do you think? To be honest, even if the calm martial ruler did not harm me, I don't trust the calm martial ruler's character. What do you mean? Does the calm martial ruler think integrity is important? Of course. When Thunder State was in trouble, the calm martial ruler sent a ruler's letter to Central State, and this little one did his part to solve Thunder State's problem. However, it's a pity that the calm martial ruler did not keep his promise. Chu Tian gave a sigh. This really makes one's heart cold. This brat was taking this chance to ask for a reward. The calm martial ruler did not even think about it. Someone, bring this ruler's 6-leaf profound royal zoisha. A jade box opened in front of Chu Tian and a strong spiritual energy was released. From its aura and color, this was indeed a top-grade sacred herb. This kind of herb could not grow in southern Xia and was bought from other large countries, so its value was hard to measure. It could only be found by a true soul realm expert. As for the others, this ruler will add another reward. The calm martial ruler gave a snort. Are you satisfied now? Actually, it's just a trivial top-grade sacred herb. This little one does not care about it at all. I was just casually mentioning it. Why is the calm martial ruler so polite? Chu Tian said this, but he immediately took out the jade box. Since the calm martial ruler is giving this little one face, then I have to show my gratitude. The calm martial ruler was already generous enough. So Chu Tian had to give him some face. Miracle Commerce will build a weapon factory in Imperial City. Imperial City's influence is much more complicated than Central State's, so if we can find the calm martial ruler as a partner, this matter will be much more convenient. What does the calm martial ruler think about this? Chu Tian's meaning was very simple. The Central State weapon factory would remain the same and another Imperial City factory would be opened. The Central State factory will be owned by Miracle Commerce and the weapons produced will be controlled by Miracle Commerce. The Imperial City factory will be responsible for military supplies. Chu Tian took out a scroll from his sleeve and handed it over. If the calm martial ruler is not assured, this is the source energy pistol design. I can give it to the calm martial ruler for free to express Miracle Commerce's sincerity. The calm martial ruler was filled with joy. At the same time, he was filled with anger. This brat had already thought of this and even made preparations, but he was deliberately putting on a show. This was truly hateful. If the calm martial ruler has no objections, then let's discuss the details. Miracle Commerce would build a weapon factory in Imperial City. Miracle Commerce and the Southern Xia Army would each take half. Miracle Commerce would provide long-term technical support and the Southern Xia Army would provide resources and protection. Whether the source energy weapons could be used by Southern Xia. This was what the calm martial ruler cared about. Chu Tian's plan satisfied the calm martial ruler, so he didn't waste any words and immediately came to an agreement. From now on, the calm martial ruler would become a partner of Miracle Commerce. The calm martial ruler was the Southern Summer King's most trusted minister, so with the calm martial ruler's full protection, it would be hard for Miracle Commerce to be moved in Southern Xia. Of course, the problem that needed to be solved was the trouble Chu Tian caused in Central State. This ruler can settle the matter in Central State and guarantee the safety of your Central State forces. The calm martial ruler put away the source energy pistol blueprint, but you can't stay in Central State. This was not purposely making things difficult for him. Chu Tian was not a noble and did not have the merit of being a marquis. He did not have the title of a marquis, but he had the power of a marquis. Even if the Southern Summer King was an open ruler, it would be hard for him to not have any grudges. Not to mention the fact that the Southern Summer King was a strong person with a strong desire for control. How could he allow Chu Tian to dominate Central State? He was already prepared for this. Who told Chu Tian to dominate Central State? Imperial City was the most important city in Southern Xia, with all the resources of the 8 states gathered in Imperial City. So, if Miracle Commerce wanted to expand, it was only a matter of time before they entered Imperial City. After Chu Tian's group dominated Central State, they were already planning to shift their focus to Imperial City. Once the royal proclamation gives the order, I will immediately leave. Your words are enough. As for the rest, let this ruler handle it. The calm martial ruler stood up. The Western Marquis is still a marquis. You've locked him up for so many days, I think it's time to release him. No problem. Chu Tian did not waste any time and immediately brought the calm martial ruler to see the Western Marquis. The Western Marquis had been locked up in Central State for 3 days and his cultivation had been sealed. He was guarded by the 5 brothers and his body was currently wrapped in chains, looking like a large dumpling. Sir Western Marquis, look who's here. The Western Marquis was still a marquis, so he had never suffered this kind of humiliation before. He immediately roared out, "Brat Chu Tian, if you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't humiliate this marquis." He did have some backbone, but it was fine to just listen to these words. The Western Marquis knew that Chu Tian wouldn't dare make a move against him. In fact, capturing the Western Marquis was already a big matter. If something happened to the Western Marquis, the Shangguan family would raze Central State City to the ground in a fit of rage. But a palm swept out. The chains on the Western Marquis body were shattered. Boss, you did not even see how the other side made this move. The Western Marquis was slammed into the ground and spat out several broken teeth. His face was filled with fear. What was this strength? Why was it this strong? Western Marquis, you have truly disappointed this ruler. A calm and dignified voice sounded in his ears. When the Western Marquis looked up and saw the person in front of him, his pupils shrank and his voice began to tremble. You are... The calm martial ruler was clearly very angry at the Western Marquis. If the Western Marquis did not lead the army, would all these things have happened? As for the matter of the letter being changed, the calm martial ruler thought about it. It was most likely done by the refined ruler's subordinates. This slap seemed like it was aimed at the Western Marquis face, but it was actually a warning to others. The Western Marquis brain completely short-circuited. Why was this happening? Why would the calm martial ruler appear here? The calm martial ruler, the head of the 3 rulers. His influence and deterrence was unparalleled. Even the Southern Summer King had to rely on him. Who would have thought that this kind of person would appear in a place like Central State? When the Western Marquis reacted, he immediately gritted his teeth and said, "Why is the calm martial ruler humiliating me?" Humiliating you? The calm martial ruler sent out another slap, slapping the Western Marquis into the wall. The commander has been captured and the army has been captured. If this was a real battlefield, do you know what kind of ending you would face? Even if the enemy doesn't kill you, this ruler will still kill you. Under the calm martial ruler's killing intent, the Western Marquis began to tremble. He did not know why the calm martial ruler was this angry, but he could only honestly say, "The calm martial ruler is right, but Chu Tian he..." Shut up. The royal proclamation did order you to come to Central State, but it did not order you to attack the city. It's a good thing you didn't cause a disaster, otherwise how could the Southern Summer King let you off? The calm martial ruler coldly said, "Because of the refined ruler's face, this ruler will not bother with you. I also hope that you can tell the refined ruler for me to know when to stop. Don't try to touch this ruler's bottom line." After saying this, the calm martial ruler gently flicked his finger. The invisible blade instantly shattered the chains on the Western Marquis body. The Western Marquis lost all his strength and fell to the ground. He climbed up in a very sorry state and bowed to the calm martial ruler, looking at Chu Tian with eyes filled with hate. Although he did not know what had happened, from the current situation, it seemed like Chu Tian had already submitted to the calm martial ruler. The calm martial ruler personally coming to Central State City was enough to show how much importance he placed on Chu Tian. Adding in the great scholar, Shen Fengho, and the golden arrow Marquis. Chu Tian's background was too strong, with experts like clouds in his hands. With the Western Marquis strength, he might not be able to deal with Chu Tian alone. Take your Southern State Army and scram. Chu Tian did not mind the calm martial ruler's presence at all. This is just a small lesson for you. If you pass through Central State in the future, please make a detour, otherwise this matter will not be resolved so easily. The Western Marquis left Central State dejectedly like this. After taking care of the Southern State Army, the calm martial ruler left the Miracle Commerce headquarters. This ruler should return to Imperial City. I hope that you'll be careful in Central State and not cause any trouble. This little one never causes trouble, it's always others that cause trouble for me. I hope it's like this. The calm martial ruler did not stay any longer and immediately left on the griffin. This matter had finally come to an end. Chu Tian let out a long sigh of relief, feeling an unprecedented sense of relief. Chapter 272. When the calm martial ruler left, Chu Tian went into closed-door cultivation. There were large amounts of materials entering Chu Tian's laboratory every day, spending around 200 million gold coins. Most of them were very precious and there was no lack of level 3 elixirs. Miracle commerce was not the same as before. They had money and channels, so they could satisfy all of Chu Tian's requests in the shortest amount of time. Chu Tian's position in miracle commerce was very high, so no one would ask him why he wanted something. After a week, Chu Tian announced an important high-level meeting and everyone came to the conference hall after receiving the news. One big and one small beauties arrived first. The older sister was dignified and beautiful while the younger sister was pure and kind. Although they were sisters, their styles were completely different. A pure boy would prefer Meng Yingying because he longed for pure love. A playboy would prefer Meng Qingwu because she was harder to conquer and more challenging. The other beauties also arrived. Nangong Yun was fiery and straightforward, making people love and hate her. Yun Yao was wild and rebellious, like a rose with thorns. Chen Bingyu was as cold as snow, like an ice goddess. Feng Kaidai was noble and generous, like a noble princess. Each of them had their own spring and autumn, looking very pleasing to the eye. It filled the conference room with charm, making it seem like a paradise in the heavens. Following that, Yun Tianhe, Yun Xiao, Shen Fengho, Gu Qianxiu, and the others all arrived. Before I announce the important matters today, I still have something to do. There were 5 jade boxes placed in front of Chu Tian's table. You're all blessed. Due to everyone's good performance, this chairman has decided to reward you. Nangong Yun was the first to say in a surprised voice, "Boss is giving out rewards?" That's right, these are the 5 profound royal pills that I refined. They will be given to Meng Qingwu, Meng Yingying, Nangong Yun, Yun Yao, and Feng Kaidai. Take a look, this is what you deserve. Wah, are these high-grade sacred pills? The moment the jade box was opened, a powerful burst of spiritual energy gushed out. The 5 pills were all golden in color and had natural pill inscriptions on their surfaces. They emitted a kind of emperor's aura. With a single glance, one could tell that they were top-notch saint pills. Not bad. This was Chu Tian's latest masterpiece. Chu Tian had obtained a 6-leaf profound royal zoysia from the calm martial ruler, which was a top-grade sacred herb. A normal true soul realm cultivator would find it hard to eat, not to mention an illustrious soul realm cultivator like Chu Tian. This stalk of profound sovereign Ganoderma had 6 leaves. Chu Tian disassembled them and used them as medicine. One stalk of peak-grade holy medicine turned into 6 high-grade holy medicines, and after Chu Tian's meticulous refinement, it finally became 6 high-grade holy pills. The pill personally refined by Chu Tian had a very strong effect. Even if a low-level true soul realm expert took it, it would have a large effect on their cultivation, not to mention a group of illustrious soul realm cultivators. Chu Tian had already used some normal elixirs and low-grade sacred herbs to raise his strength to the peak 4th awakened soul layer. Now he was prepared to use the profound royal pill to attack the 5th awakened soul layer. Of course, there was no use in using too many pills, so the extra 5 would naturally be distributed to everyone. Chu Tian, Yingying, the young miss, Nangong, and the 4 original partners would each get one. Shen Fengho had always been helping Chu Tian, even personally going to Imperial City to persuade Chu Tian. Chu Tian had to repay him no matter what, so he gave Feng Kaidai another one. Yun Tianhe had helped Chu Tian quite a bit. After all, when Chu Tian first came to Central State City, if it wasn't for the Yun family's strong support, he would not have been able to gain a foothold. He would not have been able to survive in the hands of the 3 great families, so he left another one for Yun Yao. Meng Qingwu and the others were very happy. Shen Fengho and Yun Tianhe were also very satisfied. This kind of distribution was very reasonable. The pills have been distributed, it's time to talk about proper business. Chu Tian cleared his throat and said, under my wise leadership, Miracle Commerce is now the strongest power in Central State City. Why are you all looking at me like that? I know I'm very great, but there's no need to worship me too much. Central State doesn't count for anything. The topic we're discussing today is how to advance into Imperial City. Everyone automatically filtered out the part where Chu Tian boasted about himself. Meng Qingwu was the first to ask, there's no news from Imperial City, isn't it a bit too early for us to plan a change in strategy? Relax, with the calm martial ruler looking after us, there won't be any accidents in Imperial City. There's also one thing you're wrong about, we're not planning a change in strategy, but rather we're planning something else. Chu Tian confidently said, Central State's situation is very simple and the location is very good. How could we give up the foundation we've worked so hard to build here just because we want to enter Imperial City? Central State will become Miracle Commerce's main production and communication base. There will be no conflict with Imperial City. Central State was Miracle Commerce's headquarters. This was the birthplace of Miracle Commerce, so whether it was the people's hearts or influence, it could not be compared to any other place. Central State was in the center of the kingdom, so it could easily expand in all directions. With Imperial City blocking the way, the Warhounds tribe's invasion of the south would not affect this place for a while. Because of its stability, safety, and convenient transportation, Central State had a very high strategic value to Miracle Commerce. Old Gu, I hope you can return to Imperial City. What? Return to Imperial City. Gu Qianxiu's expression changed. Do you think I'll leave? The Yun sect has so many unfinished projects, I'll stay here even if I have to. Imperial City has the calm martial ruler, what use is an old man? I can't help much if I go back, so I might as well stay in the back to do research. You want this old man to go back? Impossible. Gu Qianxiu had no interest in the company, he just wanted to do research. Ever since he came to the Yun sect, it was like he had found a place to return to. Even if a giant dragon came to pull him, it would be impossible to pull him away from the Yun sect. What are you so anxious for? I haven't even finished speaking yet. Chu Tian helplessly looked at this old man. I'm letting you go to Imperial City, not to chase you away, but rather to ask you to be the vanguard. Vanguard? Central State's Yun sect has Yun Tianhe in charge. I'm prepared to set up another research facility in Imperial City. Gu Qianxiu was shocked. Chu Tian continued to say, the researchers in Central State's Yun sect are mostly from the Yun sect and are the foundation of the Yun family. But I think as long as the great scholar makes a call, the scholars of Southern Xia will respond like clouds. Since we have this kind of resource, wouldn't it be a pity to waste it? We can rely on Imperial City's advantage to set up another research facility. Your meaning is to set up another branch of the Yun sect? Gu Qianxiu was filled with excitement. That really couldn't be better. This old man doesn't dare say anything else, but I do have some prestige among the scholars. As long as this old man calls, most of the Southern Xia scholars will respond. Imperial City's laboratory and resources are better than Central State's, so we can immediately set up a large-scale research facility. That's right. Miracle Commerce was becoming larger and Chu Tian needed to research more and more things, so the research force was already stretched thin. With Miracle Commerce expanding into Imperial City, the Yun sect also needed to expand. Chu Tian said to Meng Qingwu and the others, you guys will go with me and help Old Gu build the research facility, while also building the foundation for Miracle Commerce. I believe that with Old Gu here, no one in Imperial City will go against you. I hope that when I reach Imperial City, everything will have been done. Meng Yingying was stunned for a few seconds. We're going to Imperial City? That's fine. Meng Qingwu nodded with a faint smile. You're always the one charging ahead, so it's about time we show ourselves. Meng Qingwu and her sister were Chu Tian's most trusted people. Gu Qianxiu saw that Chu Tian had left these two important people in his care, which was enough to show his trust in him. He immediately patted his chest and promised, please be assured. In a place like Imperial City, my name is very useful. I will definitely protect the two young misses, and if there is an accident, I will face my head. The Southern Summer King or the refined ruler's main target was Chu Tian. Before the situation was clear, it was best for Chu Tian not to personally go to Imperial City. It was better for the Meng Qingwu and her sister to go first. The calm martial ruler needed to help build the Source Energy Weapon Factory, and Gu Qianqiu needed to help build the Yun Sex Branch Courtyard. Meng Qingwu could go to Imperial City and build the Magnetic Sound Tower and the Magnetic Image Tower. With the protection of these two large characters, at least no one would dare go against them. Meng Qingwu was not a normal person, so Chu Tian had confidence in her. This matter is decided. Do you have any objections? I do. I do. The three beauties stood up at the same time. They were Nangong Yun, Feng Kaidai, and Yun Yao. Nangong Yun would go with the Meng Qingwu sisters in Chu Tian's plan. After all, as a partner, she was worth trusting. As for Feng Kaidai and Yun Yao, they were not part of the first group to go to Imperial City. Nangong Yun did not want to go to Imperial City. Yun Yao and Feng Kaidai were the opposite. Nangong Yun gave her own reason. I am a member of the Nangong family and the Nangong family has a grudge with us. If I go to Imperial City, wouldn't we be giving them something to use against us? If the Nangong family makes a move in the name of family matters, the calm martial ruler will not interfere. These words were reasonable. In Imperial City, Nangong Yun's status was indeed special. Yun Yao and Feng Kaidai expressed that they could help the Meng Qingwu sisters gain a stable foundation in Imperial City. Then let's change the plan a bit more. Nangong Yun won't be going for now. Chu Tian looked at Yun Yao and Feng Kaidai and said, as for you two, you don't need to worry. I won't forget you two, but I have another important task. Saying this, Chu Tian placed a map of Southern Xia on the table. You will be responsible for the Ultra-Wave Crystal Tower, creating an information network for miracle commerce to cover most of the major states. This will allow our radios, communications, and images to be sent to all of Southern Xia in real time. This is a large project for us and an important strategic project. I am prepared to mobilize 3,000 miracle commerce employees, with Sir Shin Fengho and Old Yun coordinating. I will have Feng Kaidai, Yun Yao, and Yun Shao lead the team and complete this task in 1-2 months. Everyone's bodies trembled. Once this task was completed, miracle commerce's influence would increase by several times and people's lives would change. Boss, you know my abilities aren't good enough? Yun Shao suddenly gave a strange cry. You should leave this matter to elder sister. You bastard! Yun Tianhe slapped him on the table. The chairman giving you this task is because he thinks highly of you. If you dare say another word of nonsense, I'll cripple you. This kind of important task, if they could smoothly complete it, it would be a great merit. Yun Xia helplessly agreed. AI, what bad luck. In the future, they would have to run around everywhere and suffer under the sun and wind. After Chu Tian had finished arranging everything, no one had any objections. Without further ado, they immediately began to move. On the evening of the same day, Meng Qingwu and her sister followed Gu Qianqiu to the square. The royal knights of Imperial City had already arrived, so they gave up a group of griffins to the miracle commerce people. Meng Yingying and her elder sister rode on a majestic griffin. Chu Tian, I'm telling you, once the royal proclamation comes out, you must immediately come to Imperial City to see us. Do you understand? If you dare delay, I'll beat your head. So fierce. Chu Tian pretended to be frightened as he said, then this little one must obey. Meng Yingying nodded in satisfaction. I'm leaving. Do you have anything else you want to say to me? Meng Yingying's eyebrows knit together and her white cheeks turned red. You have no conscience. I care about you this much. I'll ignore you. What was this girl's head thinking? All right, young Miss Yingying, I was wrong, all right? Be careful on the road. Chu Tian said this and took out a large box. This is a submachine gun specially made for you. Just the cost alone is over 10 million gold coins. It is made of level 2 sacred grade metal and will not melt. It is very strong and can easily kill an illustrious Soul Realm expert. If anyone dares to bully you in Imperial City, just kill them. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Meng Yingying's anger immediately turned to joy. Relax, no one dares to bully me. Can't you teach her something good? Meng Qingwu angrily stared at him. Yingying has been led astray by you. The young miss wouldn't be jealous, right? Meng Qingwu had a strange expression. Pei, a dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. I didn't make a gun for you because I thought that the young miss wouldn't be able to use it with her personality. Chu Tian said this and took out a large scroll. But I have prepared a lot of useful technology for the young miss that can help the young miss finish her work in Imperial City. Meng Qingwu was stunned. At least you still have a conscience. Are you done? Gu Qianqiu walked over. We should leave? Let's go. Meng Yingying reluctantly looked at Chu Tian and raised the silver submachine gun. Chu Tian, elder sister Nangong, elder sister Kai Dai, elder sister Yun Yao, and everyone else, take care. We'll meet again in Imperial City. After saying this, the Griffin riders began to rise into the sky and gradually disappeared from sight. Chapter 273. Time was the most expensive cost. It was impossible for Chu Tian to take care of everything, and he did not want to grasp everything in his hands. Therefore, he delegated the power that needed to be delegated. He wanted to let his companions gain some experience so that they would be of greater value in the future. Therefore, he divided his forces into 3 groups. The first path was for Gu Qianqiu and the Meng Qingwu sisters to go to Imperial City and help Miracle Commerce open up the initial market. The second path was for Shen Fengho and his daughter and the Yun Yao siblings to create a national information network for Miracle Commerce. The third path was for Chu Tian and Yun Tianhe to perfect Miracle Commerce's inventions, especially the Central State Weapon Factory. Chu Tian and the Calm Martial ruler had many agreements. The Imperial City Weapon Factory would not be smaller than the Central State Weapon Factory, and the technology would not be too far ahead of Imperial cities. The simple translation of this was, no matter how many weapons your Central State makes, my Imperial City will make the same amount of weapons. Whatever new weapons your Central State makes, my Imperial City will also have a new weapon. Both sides were selling. Imperial City's side would be supplied by the military. Central State would be supplied by Miracle Commerce's private weapon factory. This would ensure that Southern Xia's military would have enough source energy weapons. The Calm Martial ruler thought it was foolproof, but he didn't know that the sly Chu Tian had a hidden card. Not only would Central State have a source energy weapon factory that did not lose to Imperial City, it would also be the only place in Southern Xia that specialized in producing energy magazines. This was an advantage that Imperial City did not have. Central State had the largest known oil field in Southern Xia. Just the oil field near South Sky City was enough to satisfy several Southern Xia's needs. Therefore, South Sky City was made into Miracle Commerce's largest battery manufacturing base. Looking at it like this, Central State wasn't wrong to place the energy magazine manufacturing base in Central State, who told it to be convenient. Even if the Calm Martial ruler realized this, it would be too late. If the source energy pistol did not have an energy magazine, it was just a piece of scrap metal, it might not even be as good as scrap metal. Chu Tian had promised to share the source energy weapon blueprints with the Calm Martial ruler and was even responsible for improving it, but what use was blueprints alone? The energy magazine manufacturing technology was in his hands. In the end, the Calm Martial ruler had to look at Chu Tian's expression. This was the reason why Chu Tian readily agreed. After everything was prepared, Chu Tian gave the matter of building the factory to Yun Tianhe and Shen Fengho to manage. Chu Tian went into closed-door cultivation again, using all his strength to attack the bottleneck. The royal city was a land of outstanding people. There were countless geniuses and powerful clans. The Dongfang, Shangguan, and Nangong clans had tens of thousands of guest officials and hangers-on, and over 100,000 disciples of their own clans. Among them, there were countless talented people. Was Chu Xinghe very strong? Of course it was very strong. Chu Xinghe had been unparalleled in Zhongzhou for more than a decade. Even in the 8 states of the southern summer country, Chu Xinghe was one of the best. Imperial City was different. Imperial City was richer in resources, the family influence was stronger, and their background was deeper. It was not strange for 2-3 geniuses like Chu Xinghe to appear here. Chu Tian could roam Central State, But that did not mean he could reach the Eternal Star Realm in Imperial City. Adding in the fact that Chu Tian had many enemies and the things he did were quite big, it was hard to avoid the jealousy of others. So, before he left, Chu Tian had to make a breakthrough. Miracle Commerce had a large amount of resources. But the elixirs they could find were mostly low-grade sacred herbs, with the occasional medium-grade sacred herb. These super herbs worth over 100 million gold coins could allow Chu Tian to make a breakthrough, but it would take a long time. Chu Tian did not look at him, so he thickened his face and took out a top-grade sacred herb. He divided it into 6 parts and refined a high-grade sacred pill, the profound royal pill, which was enough to satisfy Chu Tian's needs. "Little fellow, protect me." Chu Tian walked into the closed-door room and immediately took the profound royal pill, beginning to refine the pill's power. After the profound royal pill's effects spread through his body, his meridians were nourished by the pill's spiritual energy and his spirit energy quickly flowed, gathering in his dantian like rivers flowing into the sea. There was a strong will in his sea of consciousness that seemed like it was about to break out of his body. Chu Tian could feel that his main source spirit was awakening even deeper. There was even energy coming out of his soul, causing a layer of black fog to appear around Chu Tian. His spirit energy continued to grow. He couldn't suppress this power any longer? Now is not the time. Chu Tian forcefully resisted his main source spirit. "Continue sleeping for me." A low roar came from the depths of his soul. It was filled with irritation, dissatisfaction, and anger. A strong pressure was suddenly released. Although it was not large, it was still very shocking. The little fox felt like it was being threatened. Its hairs stood up and it gave a few deep roars. Was this aura coming from the closed-door room? The little fox's eyes turned a few times and it laid back down on the ground. It stuck out its pink tongue and licked its claws as it casually thought. Master's source spirit was even stronger. Master's increase in strength was already in the bag, but Master was also very strange. His main source spirit was clearly very strong, so why did he have to suppress it? This did not fit with his flamboyant personality. Forget it, this fox will just go back to sleep. What's the point of caring about him? 1 week later, when Chu Tian left the closed-door room, he was already a 5th awakened soul layer cultivator. Breaking through a trivial bottleneck was not a difficult matter for Chu Tian. Hey! I told you to help me guard the door. Why did you fall asleep?" Chu Tian kicked the fox's soft belly. "Has anyone been here in the past few days?" The little fox rubbed its eyes and stood up. It gave a long yawn and then shook its head. "What is the calm martial ruler doing? It's already been half a month and the royal proclamation still hasn't come down." Chu Tian was a bit impatient. "Let's go to the laboratory to take a look." In Chu Tian's private laboratory, there were 18 corpses being refined in barrels. The ancient spiritual god's memory fragments from the central state tower had given Chu Tian quite a bit of benefits. There were some ancient techniques and some special knowledge, like how to refine the divine blood corpses. What made Chu Tian's head hurt was that when the corpses were refined once and their strength increased, even if they were refined again with several times the amount of divine blood, the effects would not be ideal. After Chu Tian looked for the reason, he found that the corpse's essence blood had already dried up and the divine blood could not be directly added to their mortal bodies. The reason why the first refinement had such a large effect was because he had a batch of blood essence pills on hand. The refined corpses could not be refined without the help of blood essence. Where could Chu Tian find it? He couldn't be like the demonic cultivators and kill the innocent to obtain it. It was a pity to throw away the 18 corpses, but keeping them didn't have much use. This gave Chu Tian a headache. "Rise." Chu Tian shook the bell. The 18 corpses all left the barrels. They were a bit stronger than before, but they were only at the peak 4th awakened soul layer and it was hard for them to increase any further. It's fine. They still had value, so he just used them for now. Chu Tian saw a transparent crystal jar with a jade-like divine bone inside. Chu Tian revealed a headache expression. This was the divine bone from the central state tower. This material was too strong. Chu Tian couldn't do anything to it no matter what he did. Although he knew it was precious, he couldn't use it. He could only bring it to Imperial City and find another way. In the following time, Chu Tian helped the Yun sect with their research while supervising the company's construction. Central State City's port was completed, the Source Energy Weapon Factory and the Energy Magazine Factory were completed, and even Nangong Yun had come out of closed-door cultivation. It had been 20 days since the calm martial ruler left. There was still no news from that side. If there was nothing unexpected, the young miss should have already shown her skills in Imperial City. Could the calm martial ruler deal with this? Boss. When Chu Tian was filled with doubts, Nangong Yun excitedly charged in and pulled Chu Tian out. Quickly come out, the Imperial City's special envoy is here. Why aren't you coming out to greet him? I'm telling you this time, don't cause any more trouble, otherwise you won't be able to enter Imperial City for the rest of your life. The Imperial City had sent a special envoy and not a punitive army. This meant that the calm martial ruler had already suppressed this matter. Since it took this long, the conflict this time was much bigger than what Chu Tian believed. Chu Tian followed Nangong Yun out. He first saw a griffin with Shen Fengho beside it. As the Marquis and the city lord, naturally he had to personally come out to greet him. Chu Tian receives the royal proclamation. The special envoy did not waste any words and read the royal proclamation. After investigation, it has been confirmed that the chaos in Central State was caused by the three great families. Although Chu Tian has made many mistakes, in consideration of Thunder State and Qing State's contributions to the kingdom, this king will pardon Chu Tian's crimes and grant him the title of scholar. I ask Chu Tian to immediately leave and enter Imperial City to receive his reward. It was finally done? Shen Fengho was very happy when he heard this news. The calm martial ruler really isn't simple, actually obtaining a scholar title for you? Scholar title? Chu Tian was a bit curious. What is the use of a scholar title? Shen Fengho said, a scholar is a scholar title. There are only 10 scholars in southern Xia and Old Yun is the oldest scholar in the country. Then what about the great scholar? The great scholar is different, he has the title of a great scholar. Shen Fengho said this and then carefully explained, from low to high scholar titles are scholar, great scholar, country scholar, great country scholar, sage and great sage. Each country can only have a limited number of scholars. Actually, with Old Yun's talent, he can also become a great scholar, but Southern Xia is a small country, so the highest one can be a great scholar. The scholar title is not only effective in this country, it can also be used in other human countries. Chu Tian nodded. Father is a great sage from 30,000 years in the future, but now I'm just a little scholar. This is truly lowering my status. With the scholar title, you will be recognized as a true scholar in Southern Xia. Scholars have many advantages when traveling, but they also have many privileges, like not kneeling in front of the king, not being lynched, and etc. There aren't many scholars in Southern Xia, so each one has a very high status. If the Southern Summer King wants to move against you, he must have a proper reason. Otherwise, if this news were to spread, not only would he be condemned by the citizens, he would also be looked down upon by the other human kingdoms. So it was like this. This must have been arranged by the calm martial ruler. When Chu Tian had the official scholar status, it was equal to having a protective talisman, allowing him to come to Imperial City with a peace of mind. Since it was like this, he would directly set off. The time to go to Imperial City was ripe. After Chu Tian sent off the envoy, he immediately said to Nangong Yun, you and Big Sister Bing should prepare yourselves, we're leaving Central State immediately. Leaving immediately, is there a need to be in such a rush? Nangong Yun was a bit depressed, I still want to see my father. Leave before the news spreads, otherwise it won't be that easy. Relax, your father is living a good life. In the future, when the Miracle Commerce communication system is built, you can contact him at any time. Don't waste words, leave immediately. Alright, I'll listen to boss. Chapter 274. As night fell, the horn rang out. Central State City's east gate was already closed, but the drawbridge was suddenly lowered at this moment. Several knights were escorting a normal beast carriage, passing through the hazy moonlight and arriving at the port. A black medium-sized ship had already been waiting for a long time. Dusk fell. The four states' lake was covered in a vast expanse. Shen Fenghe and Yun Tianhe looked at the lake, feeling a bit sad in their hearts. Yun Tianhe said with a bitter smile, "Do you really have to leave at this time?" Chu Tian was wearing a traveler's cloak with a large gourd and sword on his back, as well as a bell hanging from his waist. There were 18 silent divine blood-in corpses standing beside him, not attracting anyone's attention at all. Who told me to become the fan of Central State? Would I still be able to leave if I announced the date of my departure? In order to not let the countless girls of Central State suffer the pain of separation, I should leave early. You have to understand me. Shen Fenghe laughed. You brat, you really don't know how to be humble. Actually, I'm already very humble. Chu Tian waved his hand. I won't say any more. I'll be leaving now. Take care of yourselves. Take care. Imperial City cannot compare to Central State. There are the 12 Warhounds clans outside, and the inside is even more complicated. Be careful and don't be impulsive. I know. Shen Fenghe was just casually saying this. If this brat could listen to him, was he still Chu Tian? When the ship set off, there were many lights coming from Central State City as several hundred people quickly rushed over. Chu Tian gave a surprised cry. I thought my tracks were hidden enough, but there were still people who could find me. Idle. We're here to send you off. You have to work hard when you reach Imperial City. Bring miracle commerce to Imperial City and bring it to the entire continent. Several hundred youths were holding Miracle Commerce's flashlights, rushing over to the shore. Chu Tian's ship had already set off, so he could only stand on the shore and shout, using the flashlights to form a large sky character. Goodbye. Chu Tian forcefully waved his hand at them. I'll be waiting for you at Miracle Commerce. We will definitely join Miracle Commerce. Definitely. Lin Fan, the Lin siblings, and the hundreds of Heaven Alliance members felt their eyes brimming with tears. Chu Tian had only been in Central Continent City for a few short months, and now he was about to head to King City. His speed of advancement was just too fast, to the point where these pursuers could not catch up to him. However, they were even more determined in their original beliefs. If he could be easily caught up, then what qualifications did he have to be an idol and a goal? These young people secretly swore in their hearts that they would definitely join Miracle Commerce. Even if they could not catch up to Chu Tian's footsteps, they would at least contribute to this miracle dynasty and leave a mark of their existence in this miracle era. The ship gradually disappeared from sight. Central Continent City was brilliantly lit, currently flickering on the pitch-black earth. Inside the cabin, Nangong Yun was sitting in front of a table in a daze. She had opened a can of food but did not eat it. She was frowning slightly as if she was worried about something. Nangong also has times when she is worried. Chu Tian walked in with Chen Bingyu. Chu Tian knew what Nangong Yun was worried about. Nangong Yun did not want Chu Tian to be hated by others, but being born in the Nangong family, her identity was still a bit sensitive. Especially after Chu Tian crippled Nangong Ji, most of the Nangong family treated her as a traitor. Want a drink? Alright. Chu Tian poured a cup of self-brewed honey wine. How much do you know about the Nangong family and Imperial City? I don't remember too clearly, my memories are already very vague. Nangong Yun drank the wine in one gulp. I left Imperial City with my father when I was 9 and I'm already 19 now. It's been an entire 10 years and I can't even remember what Imperial City is like. I only remember that after the sect master died in the Warhound Plains, our family never had a good day. The sect master here was not the head of the sect, but rather the highest successor of the family. The Nangong family had two marquises. One was the Furnace State's departing Flame Marquis and the other was the Blazing Flame Marquis. The two of them were the Burning Sun ruler's blood-related sons and the two most promising sons. The Blazing Flame Marquis was the eldest son and the Departing Flame Marquis was the sixth son. The Nangong family was a very ancient family. Their history was much longer than the Dongfang and Shangguan families. Before the Great Summer Country, the Nangong family already existed. After the Great Summer Country was destroyed, the Dongfang family revolted and the Nangong family became the Dongfang family's strongest support. Until today. The Nangong family still had the strongest army in southern Xia. The calm martial ruler was the commander of the army, and most of the time he was just a witness. The one truly responsible for fighting was the Nangong family. The Blazing Flame Army in the past was considered one of the strongest armies in southern Xia, becoming famous in the Warhound Plains. Nangong Yun was a branch family of the Blazing Flame Marquis. The Blazing Flame Marquis and the Blazing Flame Army were famous throughout the southern summer country. The Blazing Flame Marquis was very strong and steady, so he was the most likely candidate to inherit the ruler's position. Who would have thought that in a fierce battle 10 years ago, the Blazing Flame Corps would be completely annihilated and the Blazing Flame Marquis would die in battle? The Nangong family used to be ranked second among the three great families, but because of this setback, the Shengguan family had caught up with them. One of the Nangong Shuangho Marquis had died, leaving only the departing Flame Marquis. The one with the greatest hope of inheriting the family after the Burning Sun ruler was the departing Flame Marquis. The Blazing Flame Marquis bloodline was naturally unwilling. They wanted to elect the Blazing Flame Marquis eldest son as the Blazing Flame Marquis. The Blazing Flame Marquis eldest son was Nangong Yi's cousin, so Nangong Yi naturally supported him. In the end, it was unknown whether it was the departing Flame Marquis suppression or the Blazing Flame Marquis eldest son that did not succeed. The departing Flame Marquis began to cut off the Raging Flame Marquis wings. The Blazing Flame Marquis bloodline was marginalized, sent to various places, or transferred into the army. The 28-year-old Nangong Yi at that time had good talent, but he was not even an elder in the Nangong family. He was also a branch family member, so he did not attract the departing Flame Marquis attention. It had to be said that the reason why Nangong Yi was unlucky enough to be exiled was mostly because of Nangong Yun. After all, Nangong Yun's talent was too strong. The Burning Sun ruler was already over 100 years old, and only the departing Flame Marquis could carry the family banner after him. After weighing the pros and cons, he closed one eye. As long as it was not too extreme, he would not care. Truly laughable. After Chu Tian heard Nangong Yun's explanation, he said, "This Burning Sun ruler is old and muddle-headed. Nangong Yun has a god-level source spirit, but he is not valued and is being pushed aside. This is truly laughable." Chen Bingyu softly said, "After all, the departing Flame Marquis is his biological son and Nangong Yun is a branch family member. The Burning Sun ruler is not a saint, so it's hard to say he doesn't have a bit of selfishness." This was also true. Do you understand? Nangong Yun drank several cups of wine and her head was already a bit dizzy. She angrily slapped the table. 10 years have passed and there aren't many people from the Blazing Flame Marquis bloodline left. The Nangong family's internal strife has led to a large decrease in strength, allowing the Shengguan family to gain the upper hand. The Dongfang family rose in danger, withstanding the collapse of the country and holding on to half of the human territory. There were countless generals in the Nangong family who had shed countless blood on the battlefield, making great contributions to the southern summer country. What ability did the Shengguan family have? What qualifications did they have to become one of the three great families? Actually, during the Great Summer Country era, the Shengguan family was one of the largest financial groups in the country, so they had connections with many foreign families. In times of emergency, they could ask for outside help. Now they were diplomats and internal affairs officials in southern Xia, as well as having a very strong financial power. When the Great Summer Country was destroyed, the warhounds instinctively came down in one fell swoop. It was the Shengguan family that drove a wedge between the warhounds' tribes, causing internal strife. They united the large and small families of southern Xia. They united and stabilized the overall situation. The internal strife of the Warhounds Plains was half the work of the Shengguan family. Other than that, the Shengguan family had a high position in the business world, forming alliances with the surrounding countries and foreign races. They could help southern Xia in a critical moment. In short, there was a reason why the three great families could obtain their current positions. From Nangong Yun's mouth, Chu Tian gradually understood the general situation of Imperial City. As for the conflicts of the great families, Chu Tian had always snorted at them, but after entering the circle he had to be on guard. Because South Sky City was lacking in resources, Nangong Yun's strength had been very slow in the past 10 years, but he had been making rapid progress in the last few months. The departing Flame Marquis had already set his eyes on him. The departing Flame Marquis had tried to swallow Miracle Commerce to block Nangong Yun's father's path of ascension. Although he had failed in the end, it was hard to guarantee that he wouldn't think of another method. Forget it. Chu Tian even dared to provoke the Southern Summer King and the refined ruler, so what did the departing Flame Marquis count for? Didn't he see that Shen Fengho was also one of the 8 marquises? He was about to become Chu Tian's subordinate, and the Golden Arrow Marquis was willing to risk his life for Chu Tian. As for the Western Marquis, he was also a marquis from a noble family, but he was still humiliated by Chu Tian. Nangong Yun looked at Chu Tian. Boss, will you make a move against the Nangong family? Do you want me to? Why are you asking this? If you want to, then I'll help you teach the Nangong family a lesson. Who told me to be a righteous boss? Since this little brother has been wronged, of course I'll help you. Nangong Yun rolled her eyes at Chu Tian. Look at how easy it is for you to say it. The Nangong family is a giant beast. Would you provoke such a giant beast for me? Although she said this, her heart was still very happy. Boss really was righteous. She did not follow the wrong person. Chu Tian just shook his head. Southern Xia is too small. The road from Central State to Imperial City was very long. Going north from the 4 states, Lake would take them halfway there, and then they would turn north, reaching the Imperial region. Southern Xia had 1 region and 8 states. The Imperial region was where Imperial City was located, and the 8 states were Central State, Thunder State, Southern State, Qing State, Song State, Furnace State, Western State, and Eastern State. Each state had its own focus, and Central State was the most important of the 8 states, mainly being the center of coordination. Thunder State was the training ground, Southern State was the barrier against the barbarians, Qing State was the resource center, Song State was the horse breeding ground of Southern Xia, and the Azure Colts of the Storm Cavalry all came from Song State. To Southern Xia, each state was very important. So they had to send people with enough prestige and trust to guard them. The 8 marquises of Southern Xia were not just the strongest in Southern Xia, they also had to have enough merits and prestige to qualify as marquises. This was also the reason why the Southern Summer King was not satisfied with Chu Tian being the strongest in Central State. The Southern Summer King could tolerate Chu Tian injuring the Special Envoy, the Southern Summer King could tolerate Chu Tian destroying the 3 great families, and the Southern Summer King could tolerate Chu Tian being unruly, but he could not tolerate Chu Tian who did not have the title of Marquis, but had the power of a Marquis. Chu Tian coming to Central State this time was not a matter of whether he wanted to or not, but rather he had to come. Chairman, a giant shark gang member came in. I'm afraid we'll have to change our route? Chu Tian asked in a strange voice. Why? We plan to follow the canal to the border between Song State and the Imperial region and then take the land route to Imperial City, but there have been some changes in front of us. There have been several bloody cases on the border of Song State, which has caused a large stir. Perhaps Imperial City will be filled with experts. There was such a thing? Chu Tian had to be low-key when entering Imperial City. So it was best if he didn't attract attention. The inspections would be very strict, and this ship from the distant Central State would attract the attention of some people. Bloody cases? Nangong Yun was filled with energy. Bloody cases? What bloody cases? How tragic were they? This giant shark gang member shook his head and said, it said that there were several villages with over 1,000 people and even a town that was completely massacred. The methods were very cruel and it caused a large panic. What? There was actually such a thing. It said that there was a group of warhounds that invaded, and some people said that it was a group of strong demonic cultivators. These rumors have not been confirmed. What do you think? Chu Tian directly said, let's go ashore. This place is not far from Imperial City. We'll take the land route and take a look. Chapter 275. Chu Tian chose to disembark at the border of Song State. Half a day's journey from here to the Imperial region was enough. Song State was the Imperial region's neighbor, so the 2 places were next to each other. The imperial region, Song State, and the Warhounds Plains in the north were all plains, with no danger for 10,000 miles. The Song State Plains were the main breeding grounds for Southern Xia. Southern Xia's most famous Azure Gale colts came from Song State. The Warhounds tribe was a nomadic race, having no fixed residence, and all of them were soldiers. When they were not attacking, they would hide in the vast plains, and it was impossible to find their shadow. Once they attacked, they would move like a thunderbolt and leave after attacking, clean and efficient. If they didn't have an elite mobile force, how could they resist the Warhounds tribe's invasion? The Song State Plains were very important. But because Song State stood side by side with the imperial region and a part of it was connected to the Warhounds Plains, the Warhounds tribe frequently invaded Song State, causing Song State to be baptized by the flames of war. Of the 8 states of Southern Summer, Song State was in the top 3 in terms of land area, but its population was in the bottom 3. Under the setting sun, by the lakeside, the grass covered the sky. Song State did not have any tall trees or towering mountains, but it had a desolate and tragic feeling. Not bad, this is a very fertile prairie, no wonder it can raise this many Azure Gale colts. After Chu Tian disembarked, he said in an emotional voice, when the Warhounds tribe was still the Warhounds Kingdom, if the Fang King had attacked Song State and flattened the Great Summer Country's most important breeding ground, would Southern Xia still be established? Hey! Nangong Yun said in a very dissatisfied voice, boss doesn't even think about it, would there still be you and me? If these words were said in Imperial City, you would suffer a calamity. I'm just casually saying it. Chu Tian gave an embarrassed smile, let's find a place to rest first. A giant shark gang member walked in front of Chu Tian. There is a city in this 100-mile radius called Great River Town. The giant shark gang's brothers have just arrived and are currently setting up a branch in Great River Town. You can rest in Great River Town and buy a few fast horses. It's only half a day's journey from here to King's Territory, and you can reach King City in 3 to 4 days. Chu Tian nodded his head in satisfaction. Infiltrating Song State in less than 2 months, the giant shark gang has done quite well. The giant shark gang already had a good inheritance, and now that they are following miracle commerce, they have large amounts of money to support them, so their development speed has increased. This giant shark gang member revealed a look of excitement. In just a month, we have already left the 4 states lake. We have established a total of 16 branches and recruited over 10,000 people, with quite a few experts among them. I think that in just a few years, the giant shark gang will be able to dominate the waters of Southern Xia. At this moment, a large group of people dressed like villagers appeared in front of them. These people were carrying babies, leading children, herding cattle and sheep, and dragging pots, bowls, ladles, and other household items. They were running in the opposite direction with panic written all over their faces. Hey! Nangong Yun asked curiously, where are you going in such a hurry? The villagers were obviously greatly frightened and were now desperately trying to escape from this place, as if there were evil spirits chasing them from behind. You still don't know? Great River Town was slaughtered last night. The several thousand people in the town were all killed. This is too tragic. Let's quickly run, otherwise when the demons come, we will all die. After saying a few words, they didn't want to say anything else and just wanted to run for their lives. What? Great River Town was slaughtered. Chu Tian had just found out that there had been a few shocking murders near Song State and the Imperial region. He wanted to find out more about the situation, but before he could find them, they had appeared in front of him. What nonsense are you saying? The giant shark gang members blocked them with shock and anger. They grabbed an old man and roared, if you keep talking nonsense, I'll beat you to death. The old man almost fainted from fear and his pants became wet. Stop. Chu Tian stopped the angry giant shark gang members and walked in front of the frightened old man. Old uncle, there is no need to be afraid. We are all cultivators and are just passing by Great River Town. Can you tell us what happened? You are all Sir Cultivators. The old man was very afraid of Chu Tian's group. In this world, there was a large disparity in strength. If these high-level cultivators wanted to kill a few villagers, it would not attract any attention. We are all villagers near Great River Town and I am the village chief. I came to Great River Town this morning, but who would have thought that as soon as I entered Great River Town, I was scared stiff. Dead, the entire town is dead. They died so miserably. I have never seen a scene like this before. It really is too terrifying. That's right. A pale-faced man said from the side. I was also there at the time. The village chief is telling the truth. Great River Town is only 50 miles from here and those killing demons are nearby. Quickly run. Those fellows are not people. They are blood-drinking demons. If we fall into their hands, we will all be finished. That's right. These are all demons. The villagers all began to speak at once. Chu Tian's group looked at each other in blank dismay. Please let us go. Those demons are too terrifying, we really don't want to die. The villagers were afraid that they would be caught if they were too slow, so they all knelt down in front of Chu Tian's group. Chu Tian's group looked at each other in blank dismay. How could there be such a coincidence? But from the villagers' eyes, they could see that the fear was real. Something had really happened to Great River Town. Although these villagers did not lack the strength to truss a chicken, they were only at the second or third body refinement layer at most. How could they dare to continue living? Whether it was a natural disaster or a man-made disaster, no matter how many of them died, those big shots and those in power would not care. They could only drag their families and run for their lives. This was the helplessness of the people in this era. You can go. Chu Tian knew that he would not be able to get any clues from these villagers. We're going to Great River Town. There was a newly established giant shark gang branch in Great River Town and it was the giant shark gang's only stronghold in Song State. Chu Tian had to go take a look. They quickly ran to Great River Town and smelled a strong smell of blood from afar. The news was not wrong. There had been a cruel massacre not long ago. Everyone's hearts sank. The situation was not good. Great River Town had a population of nearly 10,000, but when they entered the town, they did not see a single corpse, only blood stains on the ground. When they followed the blood to the center of the town, a terrifying scene appeared in front of them that made their blood run cold. No wonder they did not see any corpses on the way here. All the corpses were piled up together. The corpses were like goods or trash that were all piled up together, forming a small mountain. The most horrifying thing was that the corpses were all dried up and had lost all moisture, just like dried corpses. The massacre had only happened last night. The giant shark gang members found several corpses. It's our people. These people were as thin as sticks without any moisture. Their eyes were sunken in, their mouths were open, and their faces were dry and wrinkled. Their deaths were very tragic and terrifying. They're all dead. There were close to 10,000 people in the town and several hundred giant shark gang members, but they were all killed. Damn, who did this? The giant shark gang had infiltrated Song State with great difficulty. They first settled in Great River Town because it was close to the water. After stabilizing themselves, the gang began to expand outwards, but who would have thought that before they could expand, the people they sent to Song State would all die? These were all elite members. This was not a small blow to the giant shark gang and miracle commerce. This really makes people's hair stand on end. Nangong Yun had personally witnessed the disaster in Thunder State, but that was done by a true demon. Everything that happened in Great River Town was clearly done by humans, so it was definitely not done by a demon. The two were completely different concepts. Most of the townspeople are normal people, so why did they kill them? Could it really be done by the Warhounds tribe? Chu Tian looked around. It wasn't easy for the Warhounds cavalry to break through Song State and the Imperial region to come here. If they really entered the southern summer country, why would they attack a few small towns? What benefits does this bring to them? Does this even need to be said? Nangong Yun indignantly said, "Of course it's to plunder and create chaos. You don't know this, but the Warhounds are bloodthirsty and do not have a single bit of humanity. They would definitely do something like this." That's not right. Chen Bingyu looked at the chicken and pig pens. The food and livestock in the town have not been plundered. This is not the style of the Warhounds tribe. As for creating chaos, that's even more wrong. Chu Tian narrowed his eyes as he looked over the shocking scene. Destroying a small town like this would not hurt Southern Xia at all. To put it bluntly, who in the imperial city or Tsang state nobles would care about the lives of a few commoners? It would be better to attack Tsang state's horse farms instead. Destroying a farm is more meaningful than slaughtering 100 small towns. That's right. Even if it was done by the Warhounds tribe. Why would the Warhounds tribe attack a small town? Could it not be the Warhounds tribe? Nan Gongyun also felt this was a bit strange. Other than the Warhounds tribe, who would do this kind of outrageous thing? Chu Tian looked at the bloodstains on the ground and vaguely saw a pattern. These bloodstains seemed to form an array, but too much time had passed, so the blood had melted and turned into a pool of blood on the ground. I think the demonic cultivator's words are more reliable. Demonic cultivator? Look at the corpses of the victims, all of their blood essence has been sucked dry. Other than a demonic cultivator, there shouldn't be a second possibility. Cleanly slaughtering a small town like this was not an easy matter. If the other side was a demonic cultivator, they would be a famous demonic cultivator, but he didn't think of anyone who would do this kind of thing. Relax, this is not just a matter of the giant shark gang, it is also a matter of miracle commerce. Chu Tian comforted the giant shark gang members and said, since there are people who don't have eyes to provoke father, we have to care about this matter. We have to care. After what happened last night, the demonic cultivator shouldn't have gone far. These beasts are too arrogant. Nan Gongyun cannot endure this. Nan Gongyun angrily said, we have to find him and make this killing demon pay the price in blood. Saying this, how could they find him? There weren't many traces left on the scene. Even the source energy array on the ground was already modeled, making it hard for Chu Tian to tell what it was. The little fox jumped down and sniffed in front of the array. It immediately found something and turned around to gesture at Chu Tian. Chu Tian was a little surprised. You know who did this? The little fox forcefully nodded. It took out a long needle from its mouth and held it in its hand, chirping a few times at the needle. Are these people similar to the ones I met in the Tianma cult's cave? Chu Tian rubbed his chin and revealed a trace of doubt in his eyes. Tianma cult? Chu Tian took out a token from the gourd. If it wasn't for this matter, he would have forgotten about it. This token had been found in a secret branch of the Tianma cult. Chu Tian had studied it for a long time and found that there was a restriction on it, but he didn't know what use it had, so he didn't care about it. Who would have thought that he would meet the remnants of the Tianma cult today? Was this a kind of fate? Chapter 276. The Tianma cult's history was even older than Southern Xia's, and it was very strong at its peak. It had once ruled over several large and small kingdoms, and its sphere of influence included most of Southern Xia's land, even most of the Warhound Plains. At that time, it was an illustrious heavenly demon warring kingdom. There were 3 types of kingdoms: small kingdoms, large kingdoms, and warring states. The difference between a great country and a warring kingdom was that a great country was relatively stable. The surrounding regions had already formed a balance of power, and it would not rapidly increase its strength in a short period of time. The warring state's kingdom was a large kingdom, and there was no balance of power in the surrounding regions. The warring state's kingdom had overwhelming power, so they could annex the surrounding large and small kingdoms. This was why they were called the warring state's kingdom. Sengoku was full of aggression. More than 1,000 years ago, the heavenly demon kingdom was a sect-style warring kingdom. Traditional countries were inherited by a family. The king was the head of the family and was usually more fixed. Sectarian countries were led by one or a few powerful sect leaders. The king was the leader of the sect, so the king's surname often changed. Both models of countries had their own advantages. Traditional countries were stable, but the person who sat on the throne was not necessarily the most outstanding person. The leader of a sect or country was definitely the strongest person in the sect. However, the disadvantage was that it was easy to cause chaos, and the country was not stable. For the Tianma cult to be able to form the power of the warring states period, its foundation was naturally very deep. Among them, there were more than a dozen large and small inheritances, and more than a dozen branches were separated from the inside. In order to fight for the position of cult leader, each branch's head venerables naturally fought each other, so there were endless internal conflicts. Secondly, the heavenly demon warring kingdom was a country ruled by demonic cultivators. The people were plunged into misery and suffering. The people had no way to make a living. The various regions could not bear the oppression and revolted one after another. When the heavenly demon warring kingdom reached its peak, it began to completely collapse. However, a centipede would not fall even if it died. Although the heavenly demon warring kingdom quickly collapsed, the Tianma cult continued to hold on for hundreds of years. In the end, under the joint efforts of all parties, the remnants of the Tianma cult were almost completely annihilated. For hundreds of years, no one had heard about the Tianma cult. The little fox should not be mistaken. Those demonic cultivators who massacred the village must be the remnants of the Tianma cult. As soon as Chu Tian pulled the command medallion out of the bottle gourd, his expression flickered. Shockingly, the spell formation designs on the medallion had all been activated. This was a sign that hadn't been there before. Something must have happened. We'll know soon after we capture the demon dweller and interrogate him. Nangong Yun bent down and rubbed the little fox's head. Little fellow, can you find their whereabouts? Isn't this small matter as simple as drinking water for this fox who has remarkable abilities? Whether it was for revenge or to investigate clearly, he had no choice but to act. Upon receiving Chu Tian's order, the little fox leaped up and chased after him. The fact that the other party was able to massacre an entire town meant that he was definitely not alone. Otherwise, no matter how high his cultivation was, it was impossible for him to block all the exits at once. If his guess was correct, there were at least 5 or 6 people, and at most, there were more than 10 people. They attacked from different directions at the same time, and only then could they create such a horrifying massacre. There was at least one true soul realm expert in this group. This group of people was not easy to deal with. Chu Tian used the 18 divine blood-in corpses, adding in Nangong Yun and Qin Bingyu. Their battle strength was enough. Dusk. The little fox followed them to a forest. It pointed at the forest with its claws, indicating that those people were hiding there. Go. Chu Tian gave the little fox a look. See how many people they have and how strong they are. Come back and report to me after you've investigated them. The little fox entered the forest. It came out after around 5 minutes. It used its claws to describe the situation. Nangong Yun and Qin Bingyu could not understand, but Chu Tian could understand the little fox's meaning. The Tianma cult has around a dozen people, with 2 of them being in the True Soul realm. What's not simple is that the 2 of them are high-level True Soul realm experts, reaching the 9th awakened soul layer. They're this strong? Nangong Yun never thought that these demonic cultivators would be this strong. In the southern summer country, a 9th awakened soul layer expert was enough to become an esteemed guest of the 3 great families, becoming a respected minister. This was when the demonic cultivators had not fully recovered. If they had fully recovered, these 2 people would not be inferior to the 8 marquises. Currently, they were a bit weaker than Qin Bingyu and Boss Yu. But in a 2-on-1 situation, Qin Bingyu was not their match. The demonic cultivators had a sinister cultivation technique. Even in a 1-on-1 situation, Qin Bingyu might not be able to escape unscathed. Not to mention that other than the 2 True Soul realm experts, the other cultivators were not normal people. They were all in the 5th to 6th awakened soul layer. It's impossible for this kind of strength to be unknown people. Chu Tian speculated, they are not simple people, they could be the Tianma cult's branch leaders. This was the same as the branch leaders they had met before. When the Tianma cult was about to be destroyed, they had found a secret place to lie dormant, only waking up recently. These branch leaders were not weak, but because of their heavy injuries and long hibernation, they were very weak after waking up, so they needed to kill normal people to absorb their blood essence to recover. Nangong Yun asked, how should we fight? No need to worry, these people don't count for anything. Chu Tian took out the gourd. I'll refine a few things first and let them have a good drink. It was already late at night. In the middle of the dark forest, there was a bonfire with several dozen black-robed people sitting around it, roasting a skinned wild deer. A deer leg that had not yet been roasted was torn off. The black-robed people tore at it with their mouths and fresh blood flowed out. The two branch leaders have already recovered 70 to 80% of their cultivations. After taking out a few more villages, the two branch leaders will have recovered their strength and we can meet up with the leader. Then we can go to the headquarters and revive the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate, reviving our Tianma cult. Once the Head Venerate revives, the Scarlet Blood headquarters can make a comeback. The demonic cultivators were all very excited. "Humph, we can't be careless," a black-robed person said in a deep voice. The Scarlet Moon branch had 10 branch leaders lying dormant. Now there are only the 2 of us left. The others have most likely met with misfortune. "There's nothing we can do," the other black-robed branch leader said in a hoarse voice. The sacred religion's dream of the Yellow Springs cultivation technique can make a person enter a false death state, but there is a 50% chance that the body will weaken and die. We were only lucky to wake up, but the side effects of this cultivation technique are too big and our cultivations have been greatly damaged. Killing people to collect blood essence has attracted the attention of many people. The Southern Summer experts are already investigating us. What is there to worry about? We will meet up with the leader this time. With the 2 of us and the leader, what can the Southern Xia experts do to us? Once we awaken Sir Head Venerate, even if it's the so-called Southern Summer 3 rulers, there will be nothing to fear. That's right, we have to quickly contact the leader and find the headquarters to revive Sir Head Venerate. A branch leader ordered a young demonic cultivator beside him, "Go fetch some water." This cultivator quickly ran to the small stream to fetch water. After everyone ate their fill, they drank a few mouthfuls of water and recovered their spirits. This place is not far from the headquarters. We must rush to the rendezvous point tomorrow and meet up with Hall Master. The branch leader's words suddenly changed and his body trembled. He held his chest and said with a face filled with pain, "What is going on? Why do I feel my blood boiling and my essence blood boiling, as if I can't control it?" "Me too. We've been poisoned. This is bad. There's an ambush here." When the Tianma cult members reacted, it was already too late. Suddenly, a cold stream fell from the sky and the bonfire was instantly extinguished. The ground was covered in a thin layer of frost. The 2 branch leaders turned pale with fright. Such strong spirit energy. There's an expert. Retreat. When everyone was prepared to retreat, a woman with a full figure suddenly appeared and countless snowflakes fell down. This blood seemed weak and powerless, but it actually contained a strong strength. Blood-stained divine art. A branch leader spat out a mouthful of blood. When the blood splashed down, it immediately melted Chen Bingyu's spirit energy. Chen Bingyu saw that her first wave of attacks had no effect and immediately sent out a palm at the branch leader. The other branch leader charged forward and blocked Chen Bingyu's palm. The palms collided. The branch leader was sent flying into the forest like a kite with its string cut. What? He spat out several mouthfuls of blood that released cold air. It was mixed with ice. Chen Bingyu's extremely cold spirit energy had already caused serious injuries to him. This Tianma cult branch leader was not Chen Bingyu's match. Not to mention that he was poisoned by Chu Tian's special poison and Chen Bingyu was wearing the 9 lion and tiger bracer. Her strength had increased greatly, so it wasn't strange for her to send him flying with a single palm. "For you." The other branch leader glared angrily. Chen Bingyu did not give him any time to recover and sent out a palm at him, sending him flying several meters. 4-5 snowflakes chased after him. "You want to kill us by yourself? I'll let you see the Scarlet Blood Branch's methods." The branch leader was about to use his demonic art to resist, but a snow-white little fox jumped out and forcefully sucked in air at him. The power the branch leader had just condensed was instantly sucked away. What kind of spirit beast was this? The moment the branch leader's demonic art was broken, 4-5 snowflakes hit him and he was heavily injured. The sky demon cultists were scared silly and hurriedly tried to escape, but just as they entered the forest, they heard the sound of bells. A dozen silent and tall figures rushed out to stop them from escaping. "Go die." A blazing hammer swept over and smashed into the chest of a sky demon cultist. The high temperature released by Nangong Yun instantly charred the bodies of the Tianma cult members. Nangong Yun's entire body was wrapped in flames. Carrying a ridiculously large warhammer, he immediately attacked the second person. "You crazy bastards, die!" Nangong Yun's cultivation was already at the 5th awakened soul layer, and the increase in strength from his source spirit was very large. He could be said to be unrivaled under the true soul realm. Even a low-level true soul cultivator at the 7th awakened soul layer could injure him in a single move. Not to mention the fact that he cultivated the starlight immortal body. Even if he faced Chu Xinghe, he still had the strength to fight. Even if the Tianma cult members were at the 6th awakened soul layer, how could they block Nangong Yun? Not to mention, several flaming sword glows flew out. 2 Tianma cult members that tried to sneak attack Nangong Yun were cut down by the Netherworld sword. With the 18 divine blood in corpses and Chu Tian and Nangong Yun working together, even if these members attacked with all their strength, they would not be able to escape alive. Not to mention that they were poisoned and their strength had been weakened. You actually dare make a move against my sacred cult? A cult that has been destroyed for many years. What qualifications do you have to be arrogant? Not to mention small fries like you. Chu Tian said with a laugh, even if it was a branch leader, I've already killed one. Of course, I'll add 2 more tonight. What? The faces of the Tianma cult members fell. Chu Tian did not have time to waste words with them. Nangong, I'll leave it to you. Immediately take care of them. Nangong Yun's body was covered in flames as he gave a fiendish laugh. He raised his hammer and like a meteor, wildly attacked the demonic cultivators. A series of explosions came from the forest. Then everything returned to normal. Chapter 277. How could the normal members of the Tianma cult block this? The violent Nangong Yun raised her hammer, and her aura was not inferior to the peerless female devil. She swung her hammer like she was swatting flies, sending them flying one by one. The 2 branch leaders were facing the aggressive Qin Bingyu, but they did not have the strength to fight back at this moment. Just you wait. This hatred will be remembered by this one. A branch leader dodged Qin Bingyu and charged at Chu Tian like a meteor. I want you to die first. This branch leader could see that this young man was not strong, but he had a high status among the 3 of them. As long as he caught him, this fierce woman would be afraid and the 2 of them would have a chance to escape. Starlight immortal body. Chu Tian's body was instantly covered in starlight. The Tianma cult branch leader slashed out with his claw. You want to block this one with this kind of defense? Break for me. In the end, he was a true soul realm expert. The starlight immortal body instantly dimmed and Chu Tian was forced back several steps. But what was shocking was that Chu Tian was not injured at all after being hit by a true soul realm expert. The branch leader was also shocked. Because he was poisoned and attacked in a hurry, he could only use 20% of his strength. But this attack was enough to cripple any illustrious soul realm cultivator, but this young man had blocked it? This one doesn't believe it. If you have the skill to block another attack. The Tianma cult branch leader used 40% of his strength to attack again. This time he would shatter the other side's defenses like glass and turn his body into minced meat. Who would have thought that when the palm wind came close, the other side would suddenly take out a silver object? With an ear-piercing sound, a large wave of light bullets flew out like a wild storm. Too close. Too sudden. The Tianma cult branch leader did not think that Chu Tian would be able to counterattack, so he did not condense a strong protective spirit energy. Facing this high speed and dense attack, his consciousness was caught off guard and his protective spirit energy was completely torn apart. The violent energy tore open his flesh and he was forced back several steps. His injuries were very serious. What was this? The Tianma cult branch leader was shocked. Raging flame cut. The leader's head was chopped off, and he was killed on the spot. At his peak, the branch leader could not compare to the 3 sovereigns, but at the very least, he could compare to the 8 marquises, perhaps even a little stronger. In the end, he had died under the hands of an illustrious soul realm expert. He didn't even know what weapon had killed him. He really couldn't die in peace. Chu Tian kicked the headless corpse. An idiot like you wants to plot against father? Be smarter in your next life. On the other side, under Qin Bingyu's fierce attacks, the branch leader began to retreat step by step. Chu Tian raised his source energy spear. A barrage of light bullets swept over. The leader of Tianma cult was shot 7 or 8 times in a row. Although it did not cause any damage, it still made him flustered for a while. Chen Bingyu took the opportunity to flip him over with a palm strike. She raised her hand and was about to kill him with one strike. Chu Tian stopped him. Stop. The leader of Tianma cult looked at the weapon in Chu Tian's hand with a face of fear. What kind of treasure is that? Chu Tian's source energy submachine gun was specially made, using saint-grade metal. Just the cost alone was enough to scare people to death, so it was very strong. It was enough to easily kill an illustrious Soul Realm expert, and it even had an effect on a true Soul Realm expert. Now is not the time to be curious. Chu Tian walked in front of the Tianma cult's leader and pointed the hot muzzle at his head. Whatever I ask you, you will answer. If you don't answer me or try to fool me, Father will blow up your head. You're going to die anyway. Do it. As long as you honestly answer my questions. Chu Tian softly said, I won't kill you. The leader had a suspicious look on his face. Why should this one believe you? Chu Tian shot the leader's legs twice, making him cry out in pain. I can take your life at any time, so you have to believe me. Alright, what do you want to know? Where are you prepared to go? We'll first meet up with the leader and then we'll go to the Scarlet Blood headquarters together. We'll awaken the Scarlet Blood branch's head venerate and have the head venerate recover our strength, reviving the heavenly demon cult. That head venerate can recover all of your strength? The Scarlet Blood branch's blood chalice is in the headquarters. That item can quickly recover our strength. Why hasn't the Scarlet Blood head venerate come to find you? The Tianma cult's forbidden technique, Dream of the Yellow Springs, can make a person fake their death. The deeper their cultivation, the deeper they will sleep. We woke up 2-3 months ago, the leader has just woken up, and the head venerate is still sleeping, so we have to personally wake him up. Chu Tian pointed at the demonic cultivator's corpse on the ground. What happened to these people? It can't be that they faked their deaths and revived. When the Tianma cult was destroyed, they left behind their inheritance. These are the descendants of the Tianma cult's inheritance. They aren't official Tianma cult members. A large sect like the Tianma cult definitely had more than one inheritance. The Scarlet Blood branch was one of the many inheritances, mainly cultivating the Great Scarlet Blood technique. This was a cultivation technique that absorbed other people's essence blood for one's own use. The two branch lords' auras were similar to the Black Wind strongholds because they came from the same branch and cultivated the same cultivation technique. The head venerate that was still sleeping in the Scarlet Blood branch should be the leader of the Scarlet Blood branch. If the branch lords were this strong, then the leader's cultivation base would be even higher. As for the head venerate, he really didn't dare imagine it. At his peak, he wouldn't be weaker than the 3 rulers, maybe even stronger. As long as you don't kill me, I'll introduce you to Sir Head Venerate. The holy cult needs people. Sir Head Venerate will definitely use you. Chu Tian gave a cold smile. Chen Bingyu walked in front of the branch lord. When the Tianma cult's branch lord felt a strong killing intent, he immediately shouted out in panic, "You promised not to kill me." Demonic cultivators believe the promises of others? Chu Tian gave a laugh. Moreover, I promise not to kill you, but that doesn't mean I won't let others not kill you. The branch lord didn't even have time to beg for mercy. Chen Bingyu killed him with a single palm. Good. Nan Gongyun gave a laugh. Good kill. Very satisfying. These demonic cultivators roamed the border between Song State and the Imperial region. It was unknown how many innocent civilians they had killed. Now that they had died this easily, it was too easy. If they had fallen into this old lady's hands, they would have had a taste of my methods. Chu Tian said to the two of them, "Go find something valuable." The little fox was the first to enter a person's clothes. Chu Tian quickly rushed over and grabbed the big tail, lifting it upside down from the inside. The little fox's mouth held a jade bottle in its mouth. There was a strong blood aura coming from it. Chu Tian reached out a hand to the little fox and said in an unquestionable voice, "Give it to me." The little fox held the jade bottle in its mouth and its two jet-black eyes looked around a few times. It sniffed it with its nose and then opened its mouth. It used its two little claws to catch it and gave it to Chu Tian, looking very obedient. Nangong Yun said in a surprised voice, "When did it become this obedient?" "It's most likely because it has limited energy, so it can't fill its stomach." Chu Tian didn't know the little fox's nature. If this thing was a treasure, it would have already filled its pockets. How could it hand it over? The little fox understood Chu Tian. At most, it would just suffer a spanking. Chu Tian opened the little jade bottle and suddenly smelled a pungent smell of blood. "What is this?" "It's actually this smelly, I'm about to vomit." Nangong Yun revealed a nauseous appearance. "This thing is a blood pill condensed from blood essence. Back in the Black Wind Stronghold's Tianma cult branch, I also found something similar. These Scarlet Blood branch members cultivate a demonic art, so most of them need human blood essence to recover their strength. These two branch leaders should be collecting this thing to recover their strength. Then is this thing useful? This thing's killing intent is too strong, it's useless to us." Chu Tian placed it in the gourd, "But it is very useful for refining corpses, we just happen to be lacking this kind of material." "I found a book." Nangong Yun found an old sheepskin scroll. This was a map of the Tianma cult's Scarlet Blood branch. The Scarlet Blood branch, the branch, and the secret altar were clearly marked on it. The Scarlet Blood branch is in the Scarlet Swamp. Nangong Yun marked the location of the headquarters on the map. The Scarlet Swamp is the largest swamp in the southern Summer Kingdom. It is filled with poisonous creatures and fierce beasts. It is a barren land. Chen Bingyu silently handed over a booklet. This book was found on the body of the Tianma cult's branch leader. This seems to be an illustrated book. Chu Tian looked over the book and his eyes slightly moved. "Eek, this is interesting. Let me take a look." Nangong Yun put her arm around Chu Tian's shoulder and looked over a few times. "What is with these strange symbols?" Chu Tian replied, "It's a communication signal." "Communication signal?" Nangong Yun thought of something. "You're saying that the Tianma cult uses this signal to communicate? In other words, if we obtain this signal, we can contact the other members of the Tianma cult and even that leader?" "That's right." "Then what's behind this?" Nangong Yun watched as Chu Tian flipped through the book. Other than the strange Tianma cult secret techniques, there were also many pictures and information. It seemed like it was introducing a few sacred weapons of the Tianma cult. Among them was a simple and ancient sacred grail. Blood chalice, the supreme sacred object of the Scarlet Blood branch. It can collect the blood of all living beings and refine it into true blood, or turn it into an endless source of energy. The Scarlet Blood branch members have the chalice and their spirit energy is unlimited. Their injuries are instantly healed and their cultivation increases, making them invincible. This thing is the blood chalice these demons are talking about? It should be. True blood was a very precious material. Only the difficulty of refining it was very high. The advantage of the blood chalice was that it could automatically collect the blood of all living beings and convert it. To the Scarlet Blood branch demonic cultivators, this was equal to having an endless source of precious materials. This item was a priceless treasure to them. This blood chalice did not directly increase Chu Tian's cultivation, but it was still a pretty good material gathering tool. Chu Tian's divine blood was enough to refine a strong divine blood in corpse, but the divine blood in corpse's blood energy was too weak and could not digest too much spiritual god's energy. If he could obtain this blood chalice and obtain an endless source of materials, it would be much easier to strengthen the Een corpses. The headquarters is in the Scarlet Swamp and can only be entered with a Scarlet Blood token. Chu Tian said to the two of them, "Each branch leader should have a Scarlet Blood token. You guys can take a look." "I found it." This token was the same as the one found in the Black Wind Stronghold. The three of them each had a token. They had a map and a token, and they just happened to run into this matter. How could they miss it? The few of them searched the place carefully again. Chu Tian found a diary on the disciple's body. It mainly recorded the cultivation process and experiences. This demonic cultivator was born in a family in Song State City. His family had been cultivating demonic arts for generations, but no one knew that they were related to the Tianma cult. When he learned that the Scarlet Blood branch had come to southern Xia, this youth immediately thought of going there. As long as the Tianma cult could rise again, southern Xia did not count for anything. It was a pity that this was a crooked path. The Tianma cult at its peak had already been destroyed, so what kind of storm could it raise now? We can't stay here for long, let's go. Chu Tian casually put it into the gourd. We'll go around and directly go to the Scarlet Swamp. Chapter 278. While Chu Tian was traveling, he flipped through the branch master's handbook and the demonic cultivator's diary, gaining some understanding of the Scarlet Blood. The Tianma cult was comparable to the Warring States. Although the Scarlet Blood branch was a branch, it still had a very deep background. There were 600,000 Scarlet Blood disciples at their peak, with a branch master for every 20,000 people and a leader for every 300,000 people. This meant that there were 30 branch masters and 2 leaders, with a Scarlet Blood head venerate overseeing them. This kind of power was too terrifying. A normal branch master was stronger than the 8 marquises at their peak, and the leaders had reached the level of the 3 rulers. The Scarlet Blood head venerate's strength at its peak was definitely above the Southern Summer 3 rulers, even far surpassing them. It was not inferior to the Hellfire demons that invaded Thunder State. Shocking. At least to Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun, it was too shocking. Of the many inheritances of the Tianma cult, the Scarlet Blood inheritance was just one of them. It might not be one of the top inheritances, but it already had the power to suppress southern Xia. What kind of giant was the Heavenly Demon Warring Kingdom in the past? They really did not know how this kind of power was destroyed. When the Scarlet Blood headquarters was destroyed, most of the elites were killed. 10 branch masters, 1 leader, and the head venerate escaped. At that time, the situation was already lost, and it was impossible for them to make a comeback. The head venerate decided to hide and use a forbidden technique to fake his death. He would travel several hundred years in the future and wait for a chance to make a comeback. Of the 10 branch masters, at least 3 had died under Chu Tian's hands. The other 7's situation was unknown. Because the secret technique had a high risk, the lower one's strength and spirit energy, the higher the chance of death. The other branch masters had most likely died in their sleep. The Scarlet Blood leader had already awakened and was on his way to the headquarters. As for the head venerate, his strength was this shocking, he wouldn't be so unlucky as to die. Perhaps the Tianma cult had fallen. In the end, they had a glorious past. Chu Tian had a pass, so if he didn't make a trip, how could he be satisfied? Not to mention that if a fellow like the Scarlet Blood head venerate came out, it would be a large threat to southern Xia. It wasn't that Chu Tian was patriotic, but the revival of the Tianma cult would definitely touch miracle commerce. This was something he didn't want to see, so he had to stop the demon from coming into being. After a few days and nights of traveling, the trio arrived at a place called Scarlet Swamp Town. The population of this small town was rather large, no less than 100,000 people. The buildings along the streets were very simple and crude, the ground was also extremely muddy. The townspeople, be it adults or children, were all like mud monkeys. There was no other way. Who let the small town in the shape of the swamp? There's mud all the way. Sitting in the hotel, Nangong Yun immediately took off her high-waisted leather boots and poured out a stream of dirty water. Damn, the inside of the boots is filled with water. This old lady's feet are almost rotten. Chu Tian couldn't help but take another look. Nangong Yun did not have Meng Qingwu's devilish long legs, but her pair of legs were still very slender, basically in line with the golden ratio, snow white and slender. The shape of her legs was well proportioned and beautiful, coupled with her perfectly round and perky buttocks, it was bound to have a hot and sexy style. The small town is at the edge of the Scarlet Swamp, and the Scarlet Swamp is the swamp of the Tsang State grasslands. It is also the largest swamp in southern Xia, so of course there is no flat road. Chu Tian said this before adding, "We'll be entering the Scarlet Swamp next, so let's have a good rest first. The road for the next few days won't be easy." The 18 divine blood-in corpses were already half made of mud. Chu Tian washed them once and brought over several large barrels. He engraved the refining array and poured in the essence blood materials, placing them inside to directly refine them. The divine blood-in corpses could not help much in the scarlet swamp. It was better to use the time they had and properly refine them. He had obtained the materials from the branch lords. Nan Gongyun put on her boots again and walked to the window. Opening the curtains, she said, "The scarlet swamp is filled with a fatal poison mist. How could there be people living in this kind of place? Although the town is small, it is rich in products. The special products of the swamp can't be found anywhere else. If they can be sold for a good price, naturally it will attract people. I've found something." Chen Bingyu walked into the room and coldly said, "Come and take a look." The two of them followed Chen Bingyu out of the hotel. They saw that on the walls of the Scarlet Swamp town, there was a black symbol imprinted on it. This symbol looked very ordinary and normal people would think it was just graffiti, but in the eyes of the three of them, the meaning of this symbol was not simple. Nan Gongyun hesitated and asked with a bit of uncertainty, "This is?" "That's right, it's the communication signal of the Tianma cult." Chu Tian had been reading the manual the entire time and had already memorized the signals, so he could give a definite answer. The Scarlet Blood Leader has already arrived in Scarlet Swamp Town and is currently in Scarlet Swamp Town. Nan Gongyun instantly felt a chill run down her spine. It can't be. How could that fellow come so quickly? Chu Tian did not even have time to say anything before the townsfolk on the street cried out in alarm. The swamp lizard beast carriages that were transporting the goods went out of control, crazily charging through the streets, creating a lot of mud and injuring several townsfolk. The streets were instantly thrown into chaos. The three of them simultaneously felt a powerful and fierce aura coming from the west side of the town. It was this aura's interference that frightened the beast carriages in the town, instantly causing chaos. A powerful demon beast is coming. As soon as he finished, a giant demon beast flew over at a low altitude. Under the shadow of its giant wings, a terrifying aura suddenly appeared. Whether it was the humans or the beast carriages, they were all frightened and hid to the side. The swamp lizards all prostrated on the ground, shivering and not daring to move. This magical beast's appearance was extremely ferocious. It was about 8 meters long and had no feathers. Its entire body was smooth, and its brown skin was extremely rough. It gave off a tough feeling, and when its huge wings spread open, sharp bones could clearly be seen. At the end of its huge tail was a green arrowhead-shaped object. Wherever it passed, it would leave a faint green trail. Chu Tian said in a shocked voice, "Dual-winged poison dragon." The dual-winged poison dragon was not a true dragon, but it was a high-class level 2 poison-attributed demon beast. The griffins that the Royal Knights of Southern Xia were equipped with were only low-class level 2 demon beasts, but they still cost over 30 million gold coins each because the price of a flying demon beast was double that of a land demon beast. This demon beast's strength had already reached the level of a true soul realm expert. Demon beasts were blessed by the heavens and normal true soul realm experts might not be able to fight against them. This was not something that could be measured by price. At least in a small place like Southern Xia, you could not buy one even if you had money. An arrogant purple-armored middle-aged man holding a slender spear and his body was covered in a strong aura. He was currently standing on the back of the dual-winged poison dragon without any reins or anything, just like he was nailed to the back of the dual-winged poison dragon. Chen Bingyu said in a low voice, "This is the winged dragon General Wang Tu." Chu Tian asked in a surprised voice, "You recognize him?" There is only one general in Southern Xia that has a dual-winged poison dragon mount. Chen Bingyu knit her brows and hesitated for a few seconds before saying, "This person is the Vice General and Vanguard of the Imperial City's advance army, the Battle Dragon Army. Because he has fought against the Warhounds for a long time in the Warhounds Plains, he has a great reputation in the country." Wang Tu's eyes slightly narrowed and he suddenly looked in a direction. There was a sharp whistle coming from that direction. A completely golden object that looked like a palanquin was quickly flying over. It was like a meteor as it scattered flames everywhere it went. Flowing flame palanquin. This was a special transportation tool that was forged using artifact forging techniques. It was engraved with a set of propulsion system, and when the user poured their spirit energy into the palanquin would be activated, giving it the ability to fly. This was clearly a secret treasure. The palanquin was made from a saint-grade metal, and just the material itself was priceless. There was no need to mention the source energy array on it, which was a lost technique of the ancient heaven race. The flowing flame palanquin is a treasure of the Nangong family. Chen Bingyu tightly knit her brows and said, "This person is a person from the Nangong family, and he is not a normal person. The famous winged dragon General Wang Tuesday seeing you today, you really are elegant." A feminine male voice came from the flowing flame palanquin. "This one is Suishao. It's actually a minister of the Nangong family." Wang Tu's eyes revealed a trace of dread. "I never thought that a trivial evil cult would actually attract the attention of the Nangong family." Zuoxiao softly said, "Why didn't the famous flying dragon general come? The young commander is far away on the plains, threatening the Warhounds tribes. If he personally came, do you think you would still have a chance?" Wang Tu gave a few loud laughs. "But, since we've coincidentally met, how about we cooperate?" "Why should I cooperate with you?" "I've just received information that a portion of the Scarlet Blood token is in the hands of the Warhounds Plains and has been obtained by the Warhounds tribe. In other words, there is a high chance that there will be Warhounds tribe experts in this operation. If you and I meet the Warhounds tribe experts alone, we won't have any chance of winning, so we can only cooperate." Warhounds tribe? In the Southern Summer Mirror, the Warhounds tribe dares to come here? It's up to you whether you believe it or not. This Nangong family minister thought about it for a bit. If the Warhounds tribe really interfered, then this matter would become complicated. Moreover, according to the information he had received, the remnants of the Tianma cult would also participate. A normal branch leader was already hard to deal with, and there was even a leader-level character among them. This was not a small matter. "Alright, I'll cooperate with you." The two of them reached an agreement of cooperation. Chu Tian's group of three tightly knit their brows. This situation suddenly became complicated. The Tianma cult's leader's strength was outstanding, and he was currently in the small town. Now there were two experts that were not inferior to Qin Bingyu cooperating. Other than that, there were also mysterious Warhounds experts. Their strength was unknown, but they were not below Qin Bingyu's. This Scarlet Blood treasure hunt would not be easy. "Boss, what do you think?" "I knew that it wouldn't be this good. Since the treasure has appeared, it won't just be us who covets it." Chu Tian rubbed his chin and a faint glow appeared in his dark eyes. "From the current situation, if we meet them, we won't have any advantage at all." Chu Tian, Nangong Yun, and Qin Bingyu were in the middle. Chen Bingyu was the only high-level true soul realm cultivator. Chu Tian and Nangong Yun were only in the fifth awakened soul layer. Even if their battle strength was extraordinary, it was impossible for them to participate in this kind of battle. It would be hard for them to compete with either side. Other than that, whether it was the Southern Xia experts or the Warhounds tribe experts, since they had come to search for the treasure, they must have studied the Scarlet Moon headquarters for a long time and made ample preparations. As for the Tianma cult's leader, there was no need to say. Not only did Chu Tian not have any advantage in strength, this matter had happened by accident and he had not made any preparations at all. Rushing over to join in the fun was not a rational thing to do. "I have an idea." Chu Tian's heart slightly skipped a beat. "This idea sounds a bit crazy, but it will save us quite a bit of effort." Nangong Yun's eyes lit up. "Then let's hear it." Chu Tian simply explained the plan he had just thought of. "You're simply crazy." Nangong Yun thought she was very bold, but she was still scared out of her wits. "This is pulling chestnuts out of the fire. We're done for if we fail." Chen Bingyu's calm face revealed a trace of shock. Only Chu Tian could think of this kind of bold and crazy plan. "No need to worry. The little fox can summon the hellfire demon one last time, and I'm not a vegetarian. As long as we're a bit careful, even if the plan fails, we can still retreat." "Have you really thought about it?" "Don't waste time and immediately prepare. I need some materials, so quickly buy them for me, especially for spiritual energy. If we wait any longer, it will be too late." Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun looked at each other in blank dismay and finally gave a helpless sigh. Who told Chu Tian to be the boss? Chapter 279. At night, when Scarlet Swamp Town was shrouded in a hazy mist, the townspeople who returned late returned home with the harvest of a day's hard work. Bundles of tough reeds, lotus root-like herbs, or strange insects and herbs, these were the resources they relied on to make a living. A figure covered in blood rushed through the small town, running on the muddy road in a very sorry state. He rolled and crawled, his body covered in mud as he finally arrived in front of an abandoned warehouse. The young man's appearance was very cold. He could be considered handsome, but because there were several fierce scars on his face, he looked a bit fierce. It was clear he was not a good person. The young man looked at the blue boulder to the side. When he saw the strange black mark on it, he revealed a look of joy as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. This is great. A certain rhythm was beating against the old wooden door. The wooden door was pulled open by an invisible power. Suddenly, a gust of fishy wind blew out from inside. A hoarse and cold voice entered his ears. Come in. In the middle of the abandoned warehouse sat a skinny old woman. Her sparse hair was almost all gone, and her 10 fingers were scarlet and sharp. Her eyes were protruding and bloodshot. She looked like a monster that was neither human nor ghost. Her entire body was wrapped in a layer of blood-red mist, and a powerful and dangerous aura emanated from her body. Beside her was a black-clothed large man holding a blade. He had a leopard's head, tiger's eyes, and a messy beard. He had the appearance of a fierce man. There were also 2 black-clothed people standing there. They had fierce expressions and were covered in killing intent. It was obvious they had cultivated a demonic cultivation technique. Strange. The large man was stunned when he saw the young man. Why is it only you? The young man fell to the ground. The 2 branch lords were killed on the road. The old woman knelt down. What did you say? The branch lords have deep cultivations. How could they be killed? The large man coldly said, if they were killed, how did you survive? When we spent the night in the forest, the branch lords sent me to hunt some prey. When we were about to return, I suddenly heard a fight in the forest. Those people had deep cultivations and I had no way of dealing with them. In the end, the 2 branch lords were killed and I risked my life to take back a scarlet blood token. While he was speaking, the young man took out a token. This really is the scarlet blood token. The large man's eyes flashed with greed and cruelty. The scarlet blood token was the ticket to enter the headquarters. The large man did not have a scarlet blood token, but the leader already had one, so this scarlet blood token would most likely be given to someone else. You're such a shameless bastard. The burly man's face was filled with ferocity as he rebuked, the branch leader is in danger, yet you are still alive. You are simply the scum of our sect. It was just a casual remark. Who didn't know the style of demonic cultivators? Only profit was above all else, and they were cruel and tyrannical. It was common for people of the same sect to kill each other. How could there be such a mess of restrictions? The ugly old woman slowly opened her eyes and stared at the young man with murky eyes. What's your name? I am Lung Feng. Before he could finish his words, that withered hand directly grabbed his neck and forcibly lifted him up from the ground. The old woman's attack was so quick that no one present could see it clearly. The young man exclaimed, Lord Hallmaster, you can escape death with such a weak cultivation base? The old woman's voice was as unpleasant as if sand had been rubbed into it. She absolutely did not believe that this person could escape alive after the 2 branch lords had been killed. He was either a spy in disguise, or he had been deliberately let go to lure out the other members of the Heavenly Devil cult. How did you get here? The blood in the young man's body began to boil, as if it could be ignited at any moment. The old woman's strength was deep and her methods were very cruel. Under her aura, even a normal true soul realm cultivator would lose their mind, not to mention an illustrious soul realm cultivator. This little one is a descendant of Tsang State's Lung family. My ancestors have received the favor of the Tianma cult and have been passed down for several generations, waiting for the day the sacred cult reopens. If you don't believe me, you can investigate. The young man said with a face filled with pain, as for the branch leaders being killed. This little one was lucky to escape. If Sir does not believe me, this little one has nothing to say. Song states Ling family? He did have a bit of an impression. The old woman stared at the young man. Even under the strong pressure, his body temperature, heartbeat, expression, and even his pupils did not have any abnormal reactions. She couldn't help believing him a bit. Go take a look outside. The large man flew out of the warehouse like lightning. Search his body. The two of them searched the young man's body, only finding a treasure sword, a manual, and a diary. When the Tianma cult's disciples gave the things to the old woman inspected them one by one. The treasure sword was filled with a bloody aura and was a rare top-grade soul equipment. Moreover, its attribute was very close to the scarlet blood branches. Normal cultivators would not use a weapon with such a heavy blood aura because this kind of weapon could easily backfire on its master. It was very similar to the style of the Tianma cult's scarlet blood branch demonic cultivators. The manual was also something from the Tianma cult, and the diary was a detailed record of this cultivator named Lung Feng. It was a record of his experiences in the inheritance and cultivation process. The large man had already returned, reporting to the leader, "There is nothing strange." The old woman slowly withdrew her aura. "It seems like you really are a disciple of the sacred cult. To be able to escape from that kind of environment, you must have some skills." The young man quickly humbly said, "This little one has admired the sacred cult's techniques since he was young, but it's a pity that he has only learned a few fragments. I hope that the leader can accept this little one and allow this little one to officially join the sacred cult. There's an extra token." The old woman did not care about the young man and kicked the token away. The scarlet blood token rolled in front of the young man and a cold voice rang out. "Since it's like this one can bring one person to the headquarters to see the head venerate. As for this person, you can choose them yourselves." After saying this, the old woman's eyes flashed with a cruel light. When the large man heard this, his eyes filled with killing intent. The long blade was like a blood flood dragon that instantly pierced through the body of the person next to him, directly turning their chest to dust. When the long blade was pulled out, it brought a wave of blood as it fiercely slashed at his companion on the other side. There were not many normal disciples of the Tianma cult. The large man used his blade to kill one person, but it would not be easy to kill a second person. Blood barrier. That person's spirit energy surged out and condensed into a giant barrier. When the blood wave blade slashed onto the barrier, it instantly shattered the barrier. This person was forced back a step and his face turned red as he spat out a large mouthful of blood. This was not blood spat out from being shaken, but rather a secret technique to force out blood essence. Large amounts of spirit energy had been mixed into it, making each drop of blood a fatal hidden weapon. This large mouthful of blood was spat out at the same time. At such a close distance, it was enough to create a powerful force that sent the large man flying. Blood curse sword. This person quickly formed several seals and the blood beads stopped in the air. Finally they condensed together, forming a treasure sword made of blood that was covered in runes. Quick! The blood sword turned into a stream of light that was like a poisonous snake as it quickly stabbed at the large man's chest. The burly man raised his head to the sky and let out a long and loud roar. Demonic energy started to swirl around his body, and his skin turned pitch black. A large number of magic symbols started to crawl all over his body like tattoos. The burly man's aura suddenly increased by several times. That person's expression fell. Heavenly demonic art? This demonic art could increase one's battle strength by a large amount, but it had a strong side effect. This side effect would not appear in a short period of time, but it would gradually consume one's potential. Over time, there would be an irreversible effect, so unless it was a life or death situation, they would not easily use it. The large man's demonic art increased his strength by several times and he sent the blood curse sword flying with a single slash. The dark red saber radiance suddenly chopped down at the person's head with the force of breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Wait, I don't want the scarlet blood token anymore. The large man acted like he did not hear him at all. The blade glow swept out and tore apart his body, turning him into a pile of minced meat. Zay. The old woman gave a few strange laughs. Seeing the cult kill each other in front of her, not only was she not angry, she said, "Ruthless and decisive, you are a promising talent. Many thanks for the Hall Master's praise." The large man's body was covered in dense demonic chi, making him look like a terrifying demon god. When he heard the Hall Master's praise, he couldn't help revealing a look of wild joy. Then he turned to look at the young man and said with a fierce smile, "Many thanks for giving me the scarlet blood token and giving me this good fortune. Relax, I will make my move quickly, so you won't feel any pain." This good fortune is very important. Who would have thought that at this time, the weak young man would slowly stand up and pick up the treasure sword on the ground. His eyes were filled with a strong battle intent. "Forgive me, but I cannot give it away." "Ha? Give it away?" The large man wildly laughed. "You should worry about your little life first." The cold young man softly said, "You think you can beat me?" The large man was a bit stunned and the old woman revealed a strange look. This young man was only in the 5th awakened soul layer, but the large man was in the 6th awakened soul layer. Not to mention the fact that the large man's heavenly demonic art was very high, so his battle strength was very strong. Even if he fought against 2 demonic cultivators of the same level, he could easily win. This was not simple at all. Demonic cultivators were different from normal cultivators. The cultivation techniques of demonic cultivators were extremely cruel, so compared to normal cultivators, demonic cultivators were much stronger. A trivial 5th awakened soul layer and an injured demonic cultivator actually dared to challenge a powerful 6th awakened soul layer demonic cultivator? "I've changed my mind." The large man coldly stepped forward. "I've decided to properly torture you and make you regret your stupidity." The young man did not say anything and slowly raised his treasure sword. With one hand holding the sword hilt, the scarlet red blade was slowly pulled out and a strong blood aura filled the area. "Die." The large man dragged out a scarlet red blade glow as he slashed at the young man. "Sword." The young man gave a loud shout as his spirit energy wildly surged out, releasing a sword source spirit. When this source spirit was released, it suddenly released an incomparably strong aura. It was like a god had descended, filled with majesty and power. God-level source spirit? This was a source spirit close to the god level. Whether it was the large man or the old woman, they were both shocked. With this kind of source spirit, they were destined to be super geniuses. They could easily sweep across people of the same level and could even easily jump levels to fight. Their future prospects were limitless. No one would have thought that this seemingly unremarkable fellow would actually possess a god-level origin soul. No wonder he was able to escape alive. The blood-red treasure sword was completely unsheathed. The young man was covered in a blood mist. He turned into a blood-red blade glow and instantly flew through the air. The moment the sword and blade collided, a clear breaking sound rang out. The treasure sword was cut in half. The young man fell to the ground and then collapsed as if he had collapsed. The large man on the other side fell to the ground and his head rolled to the door of the warehouse. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. This was the power of a god-level source spirit? So strong. The young man pointed the sword at his body and turned to bow to the old woman. "Leader." He did not even finish speaking. "You were acting quite well just now." The old woman's eyes were as sharp as an eagle's and her killing intent filled the air. "You almost tricked me. But do you really think this one is so blind that I can't even tell if you are from Tianma cult or not?" Chapter 280. The young man faced the sky-filled killing intent and he couldn't help taking several steps back. The 2 branch lords had been awake for around 2 months and had killed large amounts of innocent people to collect their blood essence to recover to the 9th awakened soul layer. This leader had also been in hiding for several hundred years, but she had only been awake for a few days. Her strength was above the branch lords, reaching the peak 9th awakened soul layer. The difference was so big that it could be seen. This person's current strength was not inferior to the Southern Summer 8 Marquises, he was even a bit stronger. The Tianma cult was truly terrifying. The young man was Chu Tian in disguise, but he was confident that there was no problem with his disguise. This was one of the demonic cultivators that had been killed in the forest. Chu Tian had read through the cultivation logs and finally changed his appearance. In order to make himself look more like a demonic cultivator, Chu Tian had changed the Netherworld sword to the blood-drinking sword. The blood-drinking sword was Central State's Chu Shi's weapon, and now it had become Chu Tian's spoils of war. The blood-drinking sword had the effect of sucking a person's blood essence and tainting their weapon. It was the same as the Scarlet Blood's demonic cultivation technique. Chu Tian believed that he would not be exposed and the leader was just trying to trick him. Since it was like this, why not beat her at her own game and use a few tricks to make her trust him more? I don't understand leader's meaning. You think you can kill the 2 branch lords and disguise yourself as a Tianma cult disciple to sneak in? The old woman's killing intent became stronger and her 5 blood-red nails were covered in a layer of energy. You're using this sword to disguise yourself and make your cultivation technique look like the sacred cult's demonic cultivation technique? This kind of laughable trick. You think you can trick me? This little one is not an official member of the sacred cult and the cultivation technique I practice is limited, so naturally I cannot use the Scarlet Blood Branch's secret techniques. The young man anxiously said, but this little one does not dare trick the leader. I ask the leader to understand. How can I believe you? Chu Tian pretended to be determined and said through gritted teeth, as long as the leader is willing to train this little one after the sacred cult rises, I am willing to sign a master and servant contract with the leader and follow the leader for my entire life. The old woman was shocked. She was just tricking Chu Tian. She did not believe that this person was a spy. First of all, there was no problem with this person's identity. Secondly, his strength was not strong, so he could not threaten her at all. The most important thing was that this person had a strong source spirit. No matter where he went, he would be a highly valued super genius. What kind of power would use this kind of person as bait and let him fall into such a dangerous situation? This was completely unnecessary. Who would have thought that a simple scam would lead to a special reward? This guy had a lot of room for growth. Now that the Saint Church was about to rise, if she could nurture a person well and help him reach a high position, it would definitely be very beneficial to her. Since you have such loyalty, the old woman slowly withdrew her aura. Then I will give you this opportunity. Sign the spiritual contract. Yes. Chu Tian divided a portion of his spirit and sealed it into the contract. This contract was personally held by the old woman. From now on, the young man's life was firmly in the hands of the old woman. The old woman was very satisfied with this result. The rise of the Holy Church was a time of need. Recruiting a talent with great potential was a contribution to the Holy Church, and it could also establish their position in the Holy Church in the future. This seat is called Old Woman Shur Exin. After the old woman Shur Exin received the contract, her attitude became much more gentle. After all, the other side's life was in her hands, so there was no reason not to believe in the other side. The headquarters is about to open and we will personally awaken the head venerate. We will definitely be rewarded by the head venerate. This is a good chance, I hope you can grasp it. Yes, many thanks for the leader's promotion. Take these 2 bottles of pills. One of them can be used to defend against the miasma and the other can be used to heal injuries. Old woman Shur Exan threw 2 bottles of pills over. The Scarlet Blood Temple's barrier has already stabilized, so we need to prepare to leave in 2 days. You need to recover as soon as possible. Chu Tian held the jade bottles as he left the warehouse. His lips curled into a cold smile of ridicule. This old fellow must think that she had already eaten him, right? But she didn't know that everything was under her control. Chu Tian's plan was very simple. Since he was weaker than them, he would borrow their strength. The Warhounds experts were very strong, the Southern Summer experts were very strong, and the Tianma cult's leader, Old Woman Shur Exin, was not weak either. When the strong fought, there would be injuries and Chu Tian could take advantage of this. A small and cute little white fox came out of a hole in the corner. It shook off the dirt on its body and immediately jumped into Chu Tian's chest, spitting out a pill from its mouth. You want to bind me with a profound contract? What a joke! If a spiritual contract could bind Master Chu Tian. Chu Tian was still Meng Yingying's little slave. How could it be this old and ugly fellow's turn? Chu Tian swallowed the prepared materials and immediately began to refine and repair his spiritual energy. He was completely safe now. Chu Tian opened the pill the old woman gave him and smelled it, revealing a cold smile of ridicule. Sure enough, this pill was mixed with a slow poison. If Chu Tian took it, he would be poisoned. This poison had a long incubation period, but other than the person who made it, there was no cure. Every once in a while, there would be a sharp pain like being bitten by 10,000 ants. The cruel demonic cultivators liked to use underhanded methods to control their subordinates, so a spiritual contract was not enough. A contract could only control life and death, so they needed a way to make people obediently listen to their orders without killing them. Using medicine to control them was the best choice. Old thing, I'll let you be proud for a while. Chu Tian gave the pill to the little fox. Be more alert for the next few days. Don't let that old thief find you. The little fox threw a pill high into the air and swallowed it when it fell. It chewed on the poison pill like it was eating a jelly bean while making a gesture to Chu Tian that there was no problem. Do I need to repeat the plan? Are you doubting this fox's intelligence? It was nothing more than creating clues along the way, letting the imperial city, the warhound's tribe, and the old woman come into conflict, letting them kill each other. How hard was this kind of small matter? The little fox did not have any skills, but its ability to escape was first class. Not to mention old woman Sher Exin, even the 3 rulers of the southern summer country could not catch the little fox. So giving this matter to the little fox was basically a foolproof plan. Chu Tian's injuries looked very serious, but most of them were just a disguise. He recovered very quickly, recovering to his original state in a single night. Let's go. Old woman Sher Exin brought Chu Tian away from the Scarlet Swamp town, heading in the direction of the Scarlet Swamp. The Scarlet Swamp was a very large swamp. The swamp was several hundred meters deep, and there were swamp creatures living in the swamp. Therefore, once one fell into the swamp, they could forget about climbing out. The other fatal part of the Scarlet Swamp was the air. The main plant in the swamp was a thing called the scarlet algae. This thing was widely distributed in the Scarlet Swamp, and it wildly grew by absorbing the poisonous substances in the swamp. During the reproduction process, it would release a poisonous substance. This poisonous substance did not scatter and was hard to break down by the environment, so it formed a miasma over time. Now, the entire Scarlet Swamp was covered in this poisonous miasma. Non-awakened soul cultivators would be poisoned in less than an hour. They would become mad, easily angered, hallucinate, and finally die from madness. Even for awakened soul cultivators and above, if they did not have any protective measures, they would find it hard to stay in the depths of the swamp. This was because the deeper one went into the Scarlet Swamp, the thicker the poisonous mist was. As for normal people, they did not even dare approach the edge of the swamp. Chu Tian walked into the swamp. In his mind, this place should be a barren land. However, when he looked over, he was shocked to find that the Scarlet Swamp was different from what he imagined. The entire swamp was a bright red color. This was the color of the scarlet algae. It was a bright red that was very eye-catching. As far as the eye could see, it was like a bright red ocean. The swamp seemed to contain some kind of energy, so it moved and churned in a certain pattern. It was actually able to form a spectacular scene like the ebb and flow of tides. Old woman Sher Exin walked in front. The poisonous water in the swamp is very corrosive. If you accidentally fall in, your entire body will be corroded, so be careful if you don't want to die. Chu Tian quickly respectfully said, "Yes, yes." Old woman Sher Exion's skinny and short body jumped up. Her toes stepped on some floating objects, and she instantly passed through several hundred meters of the swamp. Gula gula. Large amounts of bubbles appeared in the swamp. Large amounts of poison condensed into a column of air, shooting out from the swamp. Even if it was a piece of steel, it would be instantly corroded. Then, more than a dozen godly creatures that looked like toads emerged from the mud. Red algae and dark green mud flowed all over their bodies. Their bodies looked unstable, as if they were made of mud as well. These were swamp monsters. The scarlet swamp was a unique creature. They lived in the depths of the swamp and used the swamp to hunt for prey. They were poisonous and extremely dangerous. These monsters were not very strong, and as long as they avoided being poisoned, an awakened soul cultivator could easily deal with them, not to mention a peak expert like Old Woman Sure Xan. Several dozen blood blades intertwined and all the swamp monsters were cut to pieces. Old Woman Sure Xan did not even look at them as she continued to move deeper into the swamp. This old thief's cultivation base was truly strong. Perhaps Chen Bingyu wouldn't last more than 10 rounds against her. Not choosing to directly fight with these fellows was a very correct choice. Chu Tian followed behind Old Woman Sure Xan. The scarlet swamp, other than being covered in scarlet algae, was also covered in a large amount of red reeds. These reeds were a kind of medicine and were the main source of income for the townspeople. Of course, there were poisonous lizards and pythons hiding in the reeds, so it could be said that this swamp was filled with danger. Who would have thought? The Scarlet Blood headquarters would be established in this kind of place. As the two of them moved deeper, the miasma became thicker and thicker. The red mist covered their vision and the poison quickly increased. Chu Tian had to use the pills he had prepared to resist the poison. Finally, they had to travel for an entire day before they reached the center of the Scarlet Swamp. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.